What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Real quick, huh? Didn't even take that long to come back with a new podcast. Anyway, let's get this shit rolling, man. This podcast is brought to you by Texas Performance MC. TexasPerformanceMC.com if you want to jump online and get the information, address, phone number, all that good stuff. If you're on Instagram, check out Mark at Texas Performance MC on IG. And as always, you can come down to Cedar Park, Texas, get your bike tuned, dyno tuned, just dialed in, suspension, get some service work, motor work, upgrades. You can even get him to pull the tins off and send them up to us to get paint. Pretty much everything you need to do. Also, he's a dealer for a lot of the cool shit that you're going to want to put on your bike. He's also a hard drive dealer as well. So check him out. TexasPerformanceMC.com and on IG as always. Also want to thank Paint Huffer Metal Flake, painthuffer.com. If you want to check those guys out to see what kind of flakes that you want to put on your next bike or your next project, that's a good place to start. Maybe even if your painter that you're going to use is just out of touch with reality, you can go on painthuffer.com, find some flakes that you want, buy that shit, and show your painter what's up, right? Also, if your painter ain't got any swag, you can look on Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG and get some inspiration, or maybe find a painter that fits your style. Maybe that's the thing you could do as well. They have a lot of rad ass painters. There's a lot of really dope, really talented, painters on Paint Huffer. Fortunately, we're on Team Paint Huffer, as well as a lot of other super talented, badass people that do great work. So, like I said, don't forget to check out Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG. And also, if you just want to order some flakes, some swag, some FBS tapes, some different custom painter things that you need to make these bikes look way cooler, painthuffer.com. You'll be able to get everything you want right then and right there. Also want to thank Horsepower Inc., those dudes up in Indy that do big motor shit. Right, horsepowerinc.net. If you want to order a throttle body, an air cleaner, order some swag, get some shirts, support badass motorcycle companies doing badass things. Right, Horsepower Inc. on Instagram. Like I said, man, if you're in the Indianapolis area, dude, they got everything you need to do. They're just like Mark at Texas Performance, but in Indianapolis, right? And they're more known for just pulling big numbers out of motors and doing it right and getting it done, getting it dialed, getting it fresh and all that good mess. You're gonna probably see them at the 115th anniversary at in Milwaukee if you're heading up to that. If you are, I'm super jealous. That would be super fun. Yeah, check those guys out. Horsepower Inc. on Instagram, Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. Those dudes rock. And yeah, dyno tuning, performance for your V-twin motorcycles. Also, don't forget about hard drive. V-twin products, man. hdtwin.com. Go on there, get set up. If you are a bike shop and you want to get set up as a dealer, go do that. That way they know that this shit is working. Anyway, if you just have a local dealer that you deal with and maybe they don't have hard drive, maybe suggest it to them. Let them know you heard about it on the podcast, and there's lots of cool and badass products within their catalogs that you are interested in. Hard drive parts. If you want to check out IG and see all the cool shit they sell, from Lindahl wheels and brakes and stuff, to Sawicki pipes, to Jesse Rook and all his stuff, and who else is on there? I think Forbidden risers and bars. Man, they got a lot of good stuff on there, man. You got to check them out. Just get somebody to sign up. Just support all these cool people that are supporting our podcast. Also, if you have not yet, please check out our Instagram. No, that's not right. Check out our Patreon. We're trying to grow that up, as we've said before. Just trying to grow and build it up so that we have more abilities to move and do more with our podcast. We're trying to, just expand. That's the goal with everything, right? Just build it up, get it bigger, get it stronger, get more information out there, get more podcasts for you. And for that to happen, it takes up a lot of time to do these things. And, I don't want to waste too much of this podcast time telling you this, but yeah, it does, man. It's very time consuming. I mean, you probably think, man, like I don't have 3 hours listening to these dudes talk, but I had to spend 3 hours talking to him. And I had to spend an hour getting there, an hour home, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, cry me a river, Jace, right? Okay. Anyway, check all that stuff out. Help us out. Even if you're just going to subscribe to our YouTube or sharing these podcasts on your Instagram and Facebook that you like. That's one of the biggest things that you guys can do to help us out, is just bringing awareness to other people who might be interested in a motorcycle podcast so that we can help grow our, just our listener base, and that helps us out tremendously. So like I said, if you dig any of this podcast, man, share it. We appreciate you guys doing it on your stories and all that stuff, and it's super helpful. But obviously, putting it on your actual page and letting people know, what you thought about the podcast, that's going to help us out so much. Like, I don't even know if there's a dollar value to it to me, but I don't know I don't want to put that out there, right? But anyway, check out all our stuff. You can get a link to everything on our fastlifegarage.com. On the front page, you're going to see a link to our Patreon, to our YouTube, to our Facebook, our Instagram. It's all there. I'm glad you guys are still with us, still checking this out. This podcast is me and my good friend FXR Mike, and we're talking new Harley shit. So check this out.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
I guess we'll go now.
All right, we on?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Welcome back, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me on again. This is Mike Pantazzi. Since Jace doesn't introduce us.
I like to leave the lure of don't know what I'm talking about. So anyway, new Harleys, man. What the fuck?
Yeah. So the new Harleys just came out, or not came out, but they just did that little press release or whatever you want to call it today. I'd hardly even call it a press release because we didn't get any kind of specs or anything on the bikes, just a couple pictures of each one. But obviously there's a lot of conversation going on about it, so a lot of thoughts and opinions. So we're going to hash out our thoughts and opinions right here.
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind, I guess we won't get into bikes yet, but it feels like people are, I don't know, this is my speculation or my idea. Maybe a lot of people are trying to like it because they're kind of in denial that or something,
In denial of what?
That Harley just ain't got it no more. I'm torn, man. I'm not gonna say that I don't like these bikes. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm not excited, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's cool, but I don't want one.
I'm half and half. I don't know. I'm really mixed. Like I said, it's hard to give a whole lot of opinion without knowing any of the specs on these bikes, not knowing the prices, where they're going to fall in the lineup in that sense. But just based off the pictures, I don't know. I like the idea that Harley is trying something new, stepping out of their bubble. And, I mean, is it the right move for Harley? I don't know. Like I was telling someone earlier today, I'm glad I'm not in Harley's meetings trying to make these decisions because it's hard to say what they need to do to get their sales up and get new riders in, which is I know what they're looking to do with all this is bring new riders in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to say, I don't think that's an easy thing to answer, but I don't know if making the same bikes over and over and over again is the answer either. I mean, I guess it has worked for over 100 years, so maybe that's true.
That's a very good way to do it. I mean, a good perspective at it, right? I agree, man. Maybe it isn't making the same bikes over and over and over, but it feels like, I've mentioned it thousands of times on this podcast how when I was in sport bikes, the younger crowd rode sport bikes.
Yeah.
And now for the first time that I've ever really noticed, people that are, in their early 20s or late teens or whatever are trying to jump on Harleys. And a lot of that's due to that, that culture that's been surrounded by, Willys and Unknown and the Sons of Anarchy and all this stuff. And so they finally get a younger crowd and they obviously cut their own wrists with that.
I'm mixed. I mean, did they cut their own wrists? I mean, I know they got rid of the dyno last year when they brought out the Softail or whatever it's called, soft dyno, Softail. I don't know. I really don't even know the official name of that bike. Yeah. But I don't know how much they really cut themselves out. I mean, how much of those younger riders are even buying a new Harley? I mean, the used dynos are still out there.
They are out there.
And every new dyno that came out with, how much changes were they making to make it worth dropping 16 grand on a new Dyna versus going and picking up a 3-year-old used one for 9 grand? I mean,
with the Lowrider S, I mean, the Lowrider S kind of gave people that
one did
option,
seem to do well.
You know, that had slightly better suspension and obviously a bigger motor and stuff like that. I felt like they were selling. I mean, so many people that I felt like we were coming into mix around Texas.
Yeah.
They weren't like OGs like yourself and, you know, Mark and stuff like that. All had older Dynas or new Dynas, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, at least a 12 and up or 13, 14, 15
That
and
is
up.
true. Yeah.
You know, it was very like you didn't see a lot of people unless people that like Wes or somebody that had like an old T Sport or an old DX or something like that. Those, you know what I mean? Like those were kind of not abundant, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And most of those guys like Wes and all his group, they all came like myself from older bikes like Shovelheads and stuff. And
choppers.
So they're used to buying used bikes. So I guess that is a good point. A lot of the younger guys who were on the Dynas were riding Dynas within a couple years old.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much that makes up of Harley's actual sales, though. Like,
would you not also accredit the fact that maybe they weren't selling bikes because these older guys trying to sell bikes to younger guys just weren't in tune with what was cool and they couldn't point them in the right direction when they came in the dealership?
That's true.
Like, I mean, if you got some dude that obviously, you know, in his line, there's a Sportster and that goes to all the girls and the frail guys. And you got a Dyna, which is kind of like for the guy that can't quite afford the bagger.
Yeah.
So it was like that was their way of looking at it. They were always trying to make that sell towards a more expensive bike. So maybe it was not the bike itself that couldn't sell. It was the fact that the people selling it couldn't quite offer the type of, you know.
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying. And not only just the people selling it, but I think the company as a whole. Like your whole life is motorcycles. I mean, my whole life outside of work is motorcycles, but I spend half of my life around people who aren't in the motorcycle world.
Yeah.
And I know for most of them, if you're not into this world that we're into, they don't know much about Dynas or Softails or anything like that. They don't know the different models, and it's still, I mean, how sick are we of seeing wheelie videos? We've seen 1,000 of them, 1,000,000 of them, but it's every couple weeks someone at my job's like, bro, check this out, show me a Harley wheelie video. Like, did you know Harleys could do this? And I'm like really? Like, you're showing me like a 3-year-old, you know, unknown video? Like, yeah, we've known about this a long time, but that's just because we're in it. Like, a lot of those guys, I mean, maybe they would be if there was if Harley had some kind of better marketing to where they were showing people what their bikes are capable of. They're not all baggers. It's not either you get the entry-level Sportster, because most of them know, I don't want a Sportster and stuff. You know, I know that's a little bike. That's not a real Harley is what I hear all the time. Or they think bagger. They don't even realize there's that middle ground in there. They think it's, I got to go buy a $30,000 bagger or I got to buy this entry-level Sportster. Yeah. It's amazing. Like, when I talk to people at my job who just don't even realize, and I don't know who that falls on. I'm guessing, I feel like that's more Harley as a whole, not necessarily the salesman. I mean, I guess they could when somebody comes into the dealership, but I'm talking about guys who haven't even stepped into a dealership. They don't realize you could go buy a nice, you know, mid-sized Harley for 15, 16 grand, whatever they're going for, that is in that middle ground.
I argue this point. I don't know, obviously, I don't personally know every Harley salesman in America, but, you know, Maston, you know him. He's an FXR rider. He's very in tune with the culture of motorcycles. He has a bagger. He has an FXR. And he's a top seller in America, to my knowledge, right? Yeah. And that shows that I feel like he's a top seller because he can fit the right customer for the right bike or the right scene that bike's going to put that customer in.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's what it's all about. I mean, it's just matching the person with what's going to fit them. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how Harley's supposed to fix that, but I feel like they need to find a way. I don't know if these new bikes are the answer. I mean, we'll get into all that. But, yeah, I think they do need to find a way to start branching out and advertising to that market, and not just with sports. There's so many times when you see like them trying to branch out to the younger crowd, it's all just Sportster stuff. Like, look, we got the Sportsters with the old AMF, decals and stuff, or whatever it is. The past few years, it's always when they're trying to advertise to the younger crowd, it's just Sportsters. But I know plenty of guys in my job are 20, 22, which you consider a younger guy. And for those who don't know, I'm a welder. You know, it's a blue-collar trade, you know, middle class. It's what Harley should be trying to gear towards as far as the younger generation. Most of my people on my job, 20 to 45, guys who could afford a Harley, You know, we don't make a ton of money, but we make enough money that most people have a toy, whether it's a boat or something like that, a jet ski. They could afford a Harley, but most of them just aren't in tune at all with what Harley's doing. They still see Harley as either baggers. You know, they can see the baggers, the big wheel baggers, which a lot of them think are cool, but they feel like that's an unattainable thing. They think that's too rich. That's a $30,000, $40,000. I can't go buy that. Or they think, I was talking to people today working, a lot of them, they'll be saying they think of a Harley as still just, what was the Harley Arnold was riding in Terminator 2? Like, that's what they think of. Yeah. That's a Harley. Like, just that old guy kind of classic style. They don't even really, like I said, most of these guys have no idea that a Dyna is even a motorcycle or this new Softail.
Or that it's on a Harley line. You know?
They just don't understand that that's even an option. I don't know how Harley gets that out to those people that come in here. Check this out. Check out this bike, You can have a younger guy's style of bike. It's out there, Mm-hmm. You don't have to be rich and have that bagger.
Well, could you not just simply use social media as an obvious tool to figure out what people are interested in? Obviously, if you look up Softails of IG or Dynas of IG or baggers, and they're all going to be relatively high numbers, but you can kind of see engagement when you look at certain pages and certain things and certain trends, and I feel like the Dyna stuff is strong, but it's not here anymore, and I'm not like a bitter guy that's like, oh fuck, I wish it was still here. It's not that. I think the argument is like, I hate hearing Harley say, well, we don't know how to connect with people, and you maybe should just run your own IG account and you'll connect with them instead of paying people that don't care about motorcycles. Probably, they just have a degree in marketing in some kind of but
you're saying get someone like Maston to be running the Instagram. Like, he could sell these bikes to these people. Why can't he sell them someone like that who's in?
Yeah. Why can't he train people to? I think I just did this podcast with Adam, and he said it perfectly. He's like, you're buying a Harley. It's a passion purchase, right? You're buying this bike because you're passionate about motorcycles. It's not a necessity or a need, right? So if you're selling this stuff, you can't just be a car salesman, because you could direct people into a bad purchase, a bad lifestyle, a bad scene that they're not going to fit in or feel welcome in. You know what I mean? And I think that salesmen should probably step it up, and they should be more in tune with things. And that's part of their job description. If you're going to, I don't know about you, but I don't want to do any job for a living and not be in tune with every aspect of it. Yeah. And that comes into play. Like, if you don't know if you can't actively look at your potential customer buyer and talk to him for 5 or 10 minutes, which obviously you should be if you're going to make this kind of purchase, and say, you know what, in your head, you're judging him. I know it's probably not the best thing to do, but I could see you in the things that you like to do. Maybe you ask him kind of questions like, hey man, so what are you into? Like, what kind of riding do you want to do when you get this bike? What are you really looking for?
Why do you want a bike? Yeah. What is it you want? Do you come from like a racing background? You just want to be able to go tear it up and stuff, or are you just the kind of guy who wants to go out on a Sunday morning cruise with your wife, and it's just a toy you want to take out on the weekends and go cruising with your wife, be comfortable, look cool when you pull up to the bar? And is that what you're looking for in a bike? Exactly. Or different people are looking for different things. But I think one of the problems is the brand that Harley has become, how they're known to the non-Harley rider. Just to give a little background, what I've been doing at my job is, like I said, and I feel like I'm in like the perfect atmosphere for doing this kind of research, is talking to everyone at my job about their opinions on motorcycles, Harleys, what would make them want to, why don't they ride a Harley? Would they want to ride a Harley, or is they not even interested? And if they are interested, why don't they? Things like that. And a lot of response I got from numerous people is they see a Harley, it's a toy, which it is for most people. Yeah. But they see it, like I said, most of these guys have toys. Most guys on my job either have a boat or they have a jet ski or whatever it is, dirt bikes, and they just see it as another toy, but they see it as more like a Corvette, is what some guys told me. Is they see it as
toy.
Well, no, not necessarily a selfish toy. It's a toy. They see it as something you can't just go out and buy at 25 or 30. They see it as something you can go out, the kids move out, maybe your house is paid for now. You can go out and drop all that money and buy that expensive Harley. And that's what they see a Harley as. It's something you can get when you finally get to that point in your life where you're rich enough to get a Harley. Yeah. And I feel like Harley's just somehow got themselves that reputation, which obviously isn't true. I mean, I've got like 7 of them, and I work the same damn job, you know. I mean, so it's not true, but that's how most people see a Harley. It's that Corvette. It's that thing you get that, you know, you always wanted, but you can't really. They feel like it's unattainable, and I don't know how Harley kind of separates themselves from that, from where they're not the old 45, 55-year-old toy that you get as your midlife crisis or whatever you want to call it, where this is something anyone could get, you know? Because I don't understand how people, they can think that they could go out and buy a boat, but they don't think they can buy a Harley. Like,
boat's way more expensive.
Yeah, exactly, but I mean, honestly, I don't know anything about boats, so I could be just as ignorant on boats as they are on Harleys. But
I've had plenty of friends with boats, and that gas. When we go to the lake, and the gas that they're all asking me to chip in on, I'm like, that's a Harley payment, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I mean. I don't know how it got this stigma, but that's the stigma it seems to have. Because when I was having all these conversations with guys, I'm trying to explain it to them, like, most guys were surprised at how much you don't have to spend to be in a Harley.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
That's true.
Like I said, I'm not sure how they reach those people and kind of change.
Do you think maybe it's because of like the past of, like, you know, for the older crowd? So let's just say the 40-year-old crowd, which is going to be 10 years older than me. So that means that they were born in the mid.
Bro, you're almost 40, ain't you?
No, I got a couple years. So you know, like 72. Let's just say people born in 72. You know, they're teens and stuff. They're buying Harleys, or they're 20-something in the 90s. Next thing you know, it's like Harley's got this, you know, wild thing going on where it's like you can't buy one, and you're paying X amount of dollars over the cost to get whatever comes available.
And then you hear about the chopper craze, and you're like, oh, fuck, a chopper costs $80,000, you know? And
I think that, you know, in one sense, maybe the people that were already in the scene were cool with it. Like, fuck yeah, now everybody knows motorcycles cost money. Because I always bitch about, like billet, for instance. Like, we used to, in the bagger stuff, we'd always want people to make floorboards or something for something super simple and easy. But as soon as they find out it was for a Harley or for a motorcycle, they threw that motorcycle tax on it and charged you out the roof. And I'm sure people would say the same thing for paint, but it's the truth. Like, they throw that tax on there because they just are conditioned to think that motorcycles is tons of money. Dude,
especially Harleys.
When I met you, I was that way. And you were like, I built this bike for $3,000. And I'm like, no fucking way. And I'm slowly starting to realize that, but it is. It's just about,
it doesn't have to be a rich man's thing.
Yeah.
And it's just got that. I mean, I feel like maybe they built that up on purpose to, you know, when they had the older crowd with all the money. Maybe they built that up because it's more like a prestige thing, like a Corvette or something. Like, you know, you're showing off, like, I've got this. Mm-hmm. But now I feel like if they're trying to attract the younger crowd, that's not what they want. I mean, yeah, someone want to floss and stuff and, like, show off what they got, but that's not the majority. The majority just still think they can't afford it. And I don't feel like that can't be good for business. And, I mean, like, Chevy wouldn't survive if Corvette was all it sold. And so how is Harley going to survive if that's what they're selling? It's just they're selling a high-end luxury item, which it isn't, but if that's the idea that people who don't ride have.
Well, do you think maybe part of their production price is because it's built here in America?
I don't know. I
don't know
enough about that. I can't imagine I don't know. I can't imagine it costs that much to build a bike as much as they charge. But
I mean, to my knowledge, I don't know if you heard the podcast we did with Oliver from Cut Rate, but shit ain't cheap in Japan, bro. And I can't imagine people were making pennies on the dollar in Japan to do work and live in that country. Yeah. So how come, you know, a sport bike can cost, with all the technology goes into it, and it costs this much money, and you build a Harley with iron, a cheaper material for the most part?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a question.
My guess would be that it's like most corporations where the top guys are wanting more and more money, so that's got to come from somewhere, and that means raising the prices. Sucks, man. Everybody wants a raise every year, and, you know, if you're a middle-class guy, a raise is from $60,000 to $62,000 a year. Well, if you're a top executive, I can't even guess what they make, but if you're making $800,000 a year, you don't want $802,000, you want $850,000 the next year. And
our society's just developed the worst kind of humans, the ones that can't just be okay with I guess I'm the same way, because when I feel like I plateau in my life, I'm not happy. True. But
you always want that next bike. You finish a bike and then you're like, all right, well, now I need this one. I need a chopper next. I built whatever it is. We all do it. But I mean, it's the same corporate problems they have that I've seen in other corporations or places where I've worked. I feel like they saturated the market in a sense, because they're every year they got to produce more. You know, that's how corporations work. And so if they sell 1 million motorcycles last year and they sell 1 million this year, well, that's a loss. You know, they see that as not doing good. They have
no progress.
There's no progress there. They have to do more. Well, how long can you sustain doing more and more and more and more before you just completely flooded the market? And now there's just so many used bikes. I mean, there's not that many more people starting to ride that you can't account for all that. Where are those bikes going?
Well, see, I think that's what I hated about everything. When I bought my 2012, it was the first new motorcycle I ever bought in my life. So I go get it, and it's $21,000. It's a 2012 Road Glide, you know, custom. And I'm like, fuck yeah, this thing's going to be worth the same amount of money in 2 years. No. At this point, Harley had flooded the market with baggers and everything, to the point that they weren't even, you know, they were still popular, obviously, but there's so many. There were so many from, you know, 2000 up to 2012 that, you know, they weren't retaining value that way. You know what I mean? So it was a strange thing, as opposed to like I grew up hearing about Harley, you know, like, oh, I bought this bike for 10 grand and now it's worth 20 grand, you know, all the customization and chrome and Willie G shit it raised the value of it to X amount of dollars, you know, but I don't know. It's just weird, dude. But
another interesting theory, I thought this was when the Softails first came out, and I know that's when they combined the Dyna and Softail line, which means they had one less line of bikes. Mm-hmm. Some people were upset about that, but I kind of like the idea where if they kind of went back to how they did it pre-80s, where, you know, all the way up until then, you know, the shovel heads and stuff, you had the FXs and the FLs, but it was all the same frame. Yeah. Everything was interchangeable, and it was all the same parts. You had your bagger and your sporty bike, like, you know, your Super Glide. Yeah. But it was all interchangeable. And so I feel like that had to keep the cost down, because you're only building one frame. You just add a few tabs on it for the floorboards and stuff if it's an FLH. And the rest of it's all interchangeable. Same motor, same transmission, same, all of that's the same. That's got to save so much money, which in turn brings the cost down. Plus, it makes it better for the end user, because you can go ahead and you can turn this one into that one, or you can mix this part with that part. You know, everything's all interchangeable. Easier for Harley, easier for us. So I was hoping that's the direction Harley was maybe going with this new, combining them both, and maybe they come out with the bagger using the same platform. Yeah. But obviously now they just dropped 4 completely brand new bikes, so that kind of shoots that idea out of the water. Motor. But I mean, a new motor, completely new frames. I mean, it looks like, who knows if anything's interchangeable. It could even be, I don't even know if the front ends are going to be interchangeable. You know, we don't know anything.
It looks way metric.
Yeah, it definitely does. And well, that was my thoughts on that. I was kind of where I was hoping they were going to go, but it doesn't look like it.
That's real smart, though. I mean, essentially that's what they did with the Softail, and you would think that would have drove the price down.
Exactly. That's what I thought they were going to drive them down, you know, when they released the price.
And you know, it's like, well,
how's it go up? It's going to be cheaper to make now, but it went up in price.
Yeah, and that's a complicated thing. I mean, they didn't really add any new features. I mean, the Lowrider S and the last years of the Dynas, they all had all the special tricks, and they had the new wiring on it and all that type of stuff. So that was all good, but
it was just the new frame. But
I guess what I'm more questioned about is, like, you see the same fucking brake calipers as on the 2009. Yeah. On the new Softails. So it's like, you got a new bike, a new frame.
New adventure one.
Well, these new adventure ones look like they got radial mounts finally, but they could have did that on this new bike with the new front end.
The technology's all there. Why aren't they using it? That's what I understand.
Nobody's using those old piston style calipers anymore, man.
Why are we still pulling brakes off of like 15-year-old Jap bikes to put on a brand new Harley? Like, I mean, I feel like they don't have to go in engineers. Why can't they go buy those same exact brakes from
Brembo?
I mean, they're buying brakes from Brembo, but they're not as good as the other brakes that Brembo
makes. You can get a Gixxer 600. I don't know. I don't really know what they go for nowadays, but
half of a Harley, probably
half of a Harley price, with fucking inverted front end and Brembo brakes all the way around, monoblock brakes at that.
That's what I mean. The technology's there for a good inverted front end. So when Harley puts an inverted front end on, why aren't they using the same technology that everybody else is using? I don't understand. I mean, then we could dive into the new Softail lineup. Like, I mean, I'm a fan of the new Softails. I haven't rode one.
Yeah, you said to me, because when I was like almost going to pull the trigger, you had asked me like, hey, let me know what you do with it. So what was making you think about doing the Softails?
Well, me?
Yeah.
If I got a Softail, it'd be for completely different reasons than anyone else out there. I mean, I want to get a Softail once they drop down a little bit, just to cut one up and chop it, just because It's not being done yet. And
Yeah.
I'm stupid. I want to do it to a new motorcycle. Tried to talk Mark into doing it. Just keep it swing arm, but stretch it up. And
Yeah.
we won't get in all that. Just
You're all about
it's a little
you
dream I
making
have.
choppers out of newer bikes, huh?
But I think that should be a thing, because I mean, you look at the old bikes, like you look through an old whatever Easy Rider magazine or something. You look at these pictures and it'll be a magazine from '74, and they're chopping, and there's all these chopped up cone shovel heads. They had only been out for 4 years. People were doing it to brand new bikes.
Well, those bikes also costed $3,000.
Yeah, but I mean, but with inflation and everything, it wasn't that far off. Yeah,
Okay.
it was less, but it wasn't that far off. Still, everyone couldn't go out and buy one. I mean, they weren't that cheap, and people were doing it to new bikes. And I don't know. I just feel like it'd be cool. Like I shared a picture recently of a newer Dyna that was chopped, and I just think it'd be cool if people were chopping newer bikes. I get the whole vintage thing. It's cool. I have 2 shovel heads. I get it. And that's fun, but I just like the idea of going out, buying a new bike, brand new, all nice, everything works, and then just cutting it up and making your own thing
Also
out
like
of it.
big wheel baggers.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not my style, but I've said it before. I mean, I give respect to the guys who, I know
There's
some of them
guys.
are probably doing just bolt-on stuff, but there were definitely some dudes doing some crazy fab work, like Moose and everybody, doing some crazy, crazy fab work with big wheel baggers. Maybe not my style, but I appreciate the fab work being done.
The fab work is there, the art's there. Yeah, so I was leaning towards it, man. And I was still super leaning towards it when I helped my buddy James get the Sport Glide that we're gonna do some customizing to. And when we picked up that Sport Glide, we went and had lunch or dinner after that, and we were just kind of looking at it, like kicking some ideas back and forth how we want to do this bike. And I was getting a real close view of it and what it is. And there's like at least 15 things on there that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Right, and then the biggest thing that got pointed out, and I'm not trying to talk shit because I think it's a very nice looking bike, and because I've been staring at it long enough, and so now I've like learned to appreciate the aesthetics of this bike.
Yeah, and anything new is just a little shock at first,
But I'm looking at this bike with a customization point of view, like how can I make this look cool? And
don't put an FXR fairing on it.
No, I've already told all my friends.
Like, that's not. I'm hoping that's not the thing. Like, let's not just start throwing FXR fairings on the new Sport Glide and call it a performance, whatever. I'm
not a fan. I try to keep a little bit of a purist heart, where you keep FXR fairings on FXR bikes, and anything from Dyna Ford can go on anything. So a T-Sport fairing may be go on this bike. We might do that.
Yeah, no, for some reason that doesn't bother me. With the FXR fairing, I feel like it looks wrong on anything but an FXR.
This weekend we were at the campout, and my buddy Daniel pointed out that the bags are 2 different size links down.
Did that bike go to the campout?
Yeah, he came rode out.
I want to check one of those out in person.
So the exhaust side, the bag is shorter than the non-exhaust side.
Yeah.
And so obviously when we get rid of that big ass 40-pound exhaust, it's gonna drive anybody that has any type of slight OCD out crazy.
Well, the nice thing about that is then you might be able to get away with a little bit of an upsweep in your exhaust and keep the bags, because that's always the issue. Is because it's always the problem when you throw like clamshells on or something, or leather pros. Yeah. And the problem is your exhaust has got to be straight or you're melting your bag. So maybe I haven't seen it in person, but hopefully that could help with that. So you don't have that exhaust hanging way down there, and you can have your bags. Which I really want to check out those bags. I want to see them in video, and they seem really nice.
I ain't gonna lie, they're nice.
I wish they weren't like $5,000. I'd go buy some.
The mounting on them is super nice. It's super
quick
simple.
Detach?
It's quick detach, and easily, like you can easily make these mounts are so simplistic that you can put them on anything.
The problem is how much they cost.
I want to say they cost $2,000 for the bag setup.
I don't know. I remember Mark was talking about it, and I know whatever he said was way more than I'd spend on bags. I thought he said like $1,500 each. But don't quote me on that. It could be. It really could be. $2,000 I think I could think about, but I know $3,000 would definitely be a no for me.
Well, see, when I was thinking about getting the Fat Bob, I was like, I love the Fat Bob. I don't like the fat front wheel. So the first thing would be finding out how to put some type of narrow style wheel on the front and retrofitting those particular bags on the Fat Bob. Yeah. Now, I guess getting into the new bikes, that Pan American front end, I could totally see that on a fucking Fat Bob. That fairing setup, because it kind of has
Harley just needs to let you come in and build your own bike. Like, here's all the parts, you assemble the bike you want.
That'd be a good idea. Well, I said it on another podcast, is that the Fat Bob just needs a fairing that matches that style. You know what I mean? That style of the shape of those parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And those new Softails, like I said, I'm a fan, at least for now. from what I've seen. But I don't. They definitely. I mean, you've talked about before. Other people have talked about it. They just mixed everything all up. They didn't make this model and that model. Every model's got a little bit of something what you want. Whether you're a performance guy or you're a cruiser guy, whatever it is, nothing suits one person. Whatever bike you get, you need this part from that other bike, and it doesn't make any sense.
And so that's the thing. It's like every bike that I want that they made doesn't come with mid controls.
Yeah.
And it looks like the way they did their exhaust system, it'd be a pain in the ass to put their mid controls on it.
Well, yeah. Plus, you got to do the whole primary situation. You got that.
Well, the way they do the new one, it doesn't go through the primary
No?
anymore. It like goes to the front. It's a way of them making everything cheaper, but it looks pretty shitty to me, to be honest with you.
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, it's like it goes to the front, like as if you wouldn't have to deal with all the primary stuff. Which. Okay. Yeah, I can see it's a lot easier. You don't have to deal with the possible leaks of the trap doors and all that type of shit. But at the same time, it's like you got this big mechanism to shift gears. You might as well put a fucking just do it.
Well, that's
by
like
hand.
how the guys were doing the twin cam swaps early on the FXRs, having to route it all over like that before they were figuring out how to go through the primaries, and it definitely always just it looks like a funky contraption up there and just doesn't fit right. But yeah, let's jump into these newer bikes. Why don't we? We got the Pan America. That's what everyone's all wanting to talk about, right?
I was talking to Jason from that Hell on Wheels podcast today, and he was like, I forget what he said. I was talking to Cody Childress about that, and he goes, do you think that San Diego Customs had an inside track on them releasing that bike this year, and maybe that was why they were building?
Oh, no. I know. San Diego Customs definitely got the idea when I said on the first podcast we did that I was going to do an FXR adventure bike. I'm pretty sure they were listening, and they got that idea from me, not Harley, for sure.
Well, man, the adventure market, is it not crazy how we've been talking about it so much just, the past year? And, it really is that whole scene, that whole part of the motorcycle world is blowing up. And if you theory back, maybe, for me, obviously riding a bagger was cool. And then you get around these chopper dudes and then they're doing all this cross country shit, whether it's just for the gram or they're actually doing it. It still looked fun and inspiring. And then, but on the adventure bike, you get that same travel experience, but without all the problems on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
And if you got to go off road, it's kind of a dual sport, which it actually is. And
yeah.
So.
No, I mean, I'm excited to see what it's all about. I mean, I'm not one to usually hate something when it first comes out. Like, I didn't hate the soft tails, soft dynos, whatever they are. I don't know how to refer to them.
That's a good one.
But no, I mean, I'm excited. It's hard to say a whole lot because, like I said, today is the day they came out. We don't have a weight on it. We don't know what the horsepower, torque, price. Nobody's used the suspension on it. Nobody knows. I mean, nobody can say anything. We got 2 pictures to go off of. I'm hoping it's good. Because I think it could be a cool bike. I don't hate the way it looks.
Yeah.
But also, I wouldn't buy an adventure bike for the looks, honestly. I'd ride one of my other bikes for the looks. When it comes to that, I just don't think that's what I'm going to buy it for. But until we find out how it performs, it's hard to say much else. But hopefully it does good because, what's good for Harley is good for everyone. The better Harley does, I've never bought a new bike. The newest bike I've ever owned is a 2000 FXR 4. And I doubt I'll ever buy a new bike, but I still want Harley to stay around. It's nice. We're really suck if they didn't. Later. Yeah, it really suck if they close shop. So people who always want Harley to fail, that just isn't very smart if you ride Harleys.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Is it going to compare to a KTM or a BMW or a Africa Twin? I don't know. But then if it doesn't compare, the question is how much performance are you willing to sacrifice to stick with your Harley loyalty? Like, okay, the KTM is 550 pounds, I think, with 160 horsepower. Mm-hmm. How much of that are you willing to give up to stick with Harley, assuming they're priced the same? Well, is 120 horsepower and 650 pounds, are you still going with Harley just because it's a Harley? Or where's that breaking point going to be at for most people? I think it's going to be hard to attract. There's wanting to attract people from those crowds.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to attract anyone away from a BMW or a KTM without doing better. So, I don't know what they're going to get at unless they got something really up their sleeve here that's going to be out of this world.
Well, on a side note, one thing, much like Harley, as far as the culture of Harley, BMW has a culture in adventure riders. Yeah. So a lot of people buy into that culture. You know what I mean? They want to be a part of that BMW club, and they want to go to that pub, or they want to go on these trips. Or they watch all the shit on YouTube and stuff. So Harley is starting at ground zero in this scene.
Yeah.
Like they have to completely start at the beginning.
And how do you get that guy off of a BMW?
Yeah, and I mean,
especially if your product isn't superior.
So I obviously have talked about it a lot on here, and I'm very interested in BMW R1200 GS or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The adventure model, which it starts out at it's like 16,000. Then you do the adventure model, which puts you a 7-gallon gas tank on there. You're going over 400 miles on a tank, which obviously if you're going somewhere kind of off the beaten path, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But it's got this onboard navigation that is off-road, all this crazy shit. It's got download. Like, there becomes so much technology you can put into this bike. For the top of the line is 26,000 with all the bags and all the shit, right?
Yeah.
Do you see Harley competing with that?
I don't. And that's the problem, is how do you get someone off of that? Like I said, you might be able to get some of the Harley guys like me or you who want to try out the adventure thing. You might get one of us or some of us to stick around and do the Harley adventure one because of our brand loyalty, even if it's an inferior product. But I don't know how you're going to get anyone new to come on board because I just don't see them doing better than that. I mean, I'd love it if they did, and we don't know yet. I could be wrong. I'm just not seeing them do better.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you know, you don't know Chris. Actually, you didn't make the jam this year either. But he, a buddy of ours in the FXR community and everything. He grew up around Harleys. He was just talking today. We were talking on Facebook about it. Grew up around Harleys. Always rode Harleys, and he's been riding them for 20-something years. Big FXR guy. But he recently got a BMW. I don't know if it's the one you're talking about. I think so.
Yeah, I think I was talking to him a little bit too.
Okay. And he's talking about just today, like, until Harley can come up with something like his BMW that he said he can do 1,000-mile day at 100 miles an hour, no problems whatsoever, and it'll do 100,000 miles with no problems. I mean, is Harley gonna beat that? And with a much better navigation system? I mean,
those are the kind of things you're gonna want when you're doing adventure riding.
Yeah.
You want the ability to go off road. That's obviously part of it because those bikes are designed to go from here to anywhere, and there's not always roads in those places, so your bike has to be able to do it. And one of the things I did notice about the actual bike, and I think we both saw that a lot of these are actual prototypes. They're not set in stone things, right?
Yeah, we don't know yet. I mean, there's just so much of this is so cloudy.
Did you see the fucking seat on the bike? It's flat.
Yeah.
It's 100% flat.
Doesn't look like a 1,000-mile rider bike.
No, there's no contour whatsoever to kind of put you in place. They probably put forward fucking controls on it. You know how they are.
But that's fucking Harley. They're relying on the aftermarket to pick up all their slack. Like, we're gonna design a bike, and when does Harley ever come out with a comfortable seat? How hard is that? I mean, that's just like the suspension and everything else, the brakes. Like, why can't they put a comfortable seat? Like, what kind of technology goes into a comfortable seat that you have to change your Harley seat when you get it?
Well, so if you start from the front of the bike back, okay, the fairing. I'm not gonna lie, I dig it. I dig the look of the fairing to the tank.
Of the whole thing.
Maybe if you saw in the video, they had some of the concept sketches. They had a cool little side fairing, like a little, like kind of an engine guard kind of fairing on the side. That shit looked dope. I dig it. But the flat seat, it just doesn't make sense.
And are they gonna have a bag option?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. An adventure bike, you're on a BMW that's huge gas tanks, designed for you to sit on the tank, like saddling the tank. And, you can put more storage on top of the tank with, like, magnetic bags and stuff like that. This tank looks like a Sportster tank on a flat track, like, subframe tail section. How is that? That's not going to fucking fly, bro.
Unless they're doing, with so little information, I don't know. Maybe they're not trying to compete in the 1,000-mile.
We got to be going off the visual.
I know. Well, as I say, maybe that's not what they're shooting for. Maybe they're shooting for more dirt, less street. I don't know. Like, maybe more like whatever you call it, like a dual purpose or something. Something that's not necessarily meant for doing those long, crazy distances like the BMW. Yeah, he's pulled up the picture. Yeah, I mean. Tanks can be deceiving, so I'm not going to try and guess on what the tank is because sometimes tanks will be way different from what you think. But the seat, I can't imagine that seat's comfortable. I mean, there's not even any back support.
There's no back support. It's not going to keep you in place. I'm just not seeing it there.
I mean, the overall look, I do like this overall look of this bike. I mean, I know it's got a lot of mixed reviews, but I'm liking it.
I do like it. It's going to raise those questions, man. How are you going to, to me, it's like, okay, no, I wouldn't expect Harley to come out and blow the competition out of the water the first year.
Yeah.
But don't fucking cut yourself short and make an uncomfortable bike when it's a bike designed to do comfortable shit. And don't try to upsell me another $1,000 seat because you put a crappy version of what. But if you upgrade to the CVO adventure
that's like
bike,
what I'm saying. Where are the bags? Is this going to be the one that you can just go rip around on some trails on, and then for another $5,000 they'll throw some bags and a comfortable seat on, and you can actually go ride distance with it? I mean, is that they're like, yeah, you can get the base model, or you can get the actual touring model.
That brings me into another argument that's on both sides of the fence. What I loved about Harley from day one has always been the fact that you can throw a sissy bar and some sort of bag on every model and travel, right? Some of these bikes they're releasing don't look like that's going to be a part of their thing anymore. So the great thing, and maybe it's because they haven't actively advertised this to people, that, yeah, you can travel on each one of these bikes. Now you're making bikes that are kind of specific to one type of riding style.
Yeah.
You know, that I don't see any sissy bars or bags going on the Street Fighter.
No.
You know?
Well, that's obviously a completely different thing, which, I mean, I have less opinions on that because I've never done the Street Fighter crotch rocket bikes. I've always done the Harleys, so I just don't have much experience in that world.
It is really hard to tell.
I know some people are stoked on riding that one, so I don't know if it's for me. I just don't like that riding position, but
it's really hard to tell looking at this the Pan American how it seems like the bike is super wide. You know, by looking at the fairing, looking at the radiator, you know, you had said it might be a V4 or something like that. I could see that, man.
Yeah, that's what I know. Some people were saying they're thinking the Pan America might have a V4, which, I mean, like I said, we don't have any information at this time, but I mean, that could be interesting, and it could be interesting to see what kind of power this thing puts out.
The other thing I'm noticing big time is that, like, on sport bikes, you know, obviously it looks like these cases are all one, kind of like a Sportster or something like that. So on sport bikes, they usually put the clutch on this side of the motor, on the on what we'd say the right side of the motor, the non-kickstand side, is usually where the clutch basket and all that stuff is on more metric cruiser or sport bikes and whatnot. And the shape of this deal, it looks like that is the case. So it's like maybe the old way of, like, you know, a primary setup, all that stuff might be out the window on these new bikes.
Yeah, it's just so hard to tell with I wish we got more than, like, yeah. Well, I've seen two pictures of this bike, this little angled picture and then the one straight on from the side. And it's hard to base it's hard to base a whole lot off of these, but I guess we're just trying to give our initial thoughts on this. I mean, I guess in one sense, I'm glad that they're going all in, though, on this one and the Street Fighter one. Like, they're not kind of half-stepping where they're taking a Harley and just throwing a new fairing on it and calling it Adventure Harley, or, you know, the whatever it is, the sport bike looking one. Like, they're not just same thing, like throwing some clip-ons on a Sportster and saying, here's a sport bike. Yeah. You know, at least they're going all in and stepping away from their style, which I know will piss some people off, but I feel like if you're going to try and branch off in these markets, they had to. Like, this one's liquid cooled and everything and got a radiator, and they're really stepping out there with it, which I much prefer them go all in than half step, because you know that half step is never going to work.
Yeah, they half step into the Softails, and now it's, you know.
I don't know. We'll see what the Softails do. Like I said, I got some faith in the Softails.
I do too. It's just I'm just waiting on the aftermarket to take care of Harley for us.
But when hasn't that been the case? I mean, so what I was saying about these new releases right here is people getting mad and stuff and talking about when are they gonna make a Harley look good again? And I was saying, when has a stock Harley ever looked good? I mean, when? Tell me. People will say, oh, FXRs look great stock, or the DXTs look great stock. It's like, they look great stock now, but not when they came out. It's a lot of things I think look great now, but I'm not fooling myself. If I was around when they came out, I probably would have said the same thing. Oh, fuck that. We need to take this off, that, change this. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's only cool now because it's old. And old stock stuff is cool. New stock stuff is rarely ever cool. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it makes me really, you know, with San Diego Customs, with that bike they built, you know, I feel like there's more aesthetics on that bike and the way they set that up. They look more comfortable and more thought out for actual, you know, long distance riding and stuff like that. I mean, it's by nature, most of the adventure bikes are usually more narrow. You know, I think the BMWs are pretty wide, but some like the Africa Twin's a pretty narrow bike. The seat on the one San Diego Customs built, I take that back. It's flat as fuck. Check it out.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I don't think you've rode an adventure bike.
I sat on them at the IMS show. I was pretty happy.
I haven't even done that. I haven't rode one, so I mean, our opinions aren't to be taken for gospel because we haven't. I mean, neither one of us has gone on an adventure bike, done a cross country trip on one to really be able to give a whole lot of feedback on what is important and what's not. That's the thing is I don't know. That's what I was talking with some guys about today too. Because like I said, I was trying to do a lot of research before this podcast.
Yeah.
And talking about horsepower and stuff, and the KTM's having 160, 170, whatever, and Harley has to have at least that. If it's got 100 horsepower, I'm not interested. And I was asking, I mean, well, why though? I mean, I'm not. That's an honest question. Is 100 horsepower not enough for an adventure bike? I don't know. I mean, that's not me saying it's not. It's just I'm just wondering. I'm not well versed in adventure bikes. I think they look cool. They look fun.
Yeah.
I'd really like to buy one of these days and go, ride one around for a year and see what they're about. But I don't know. I don't have those years of experience on one to say, yeah, man, 100 horsepower is just not going to cut it for what you want to do with them. So I just don't know.
Yeah, it's really tough to say. I mean, it's really going to depend on the weight of the bike and what they build the frame out of and all that stuff. Because most German bikes, and I could be wrong, but I'm just going to speculate, it's probably going to be aluminum frames. And Harley don't do that shit. Know.
Oh, we don't know what that is.
It looks more like it's going to be more on that wavelength of aluminum chassis, a more tight motor. Like they're probably going to get rid of the primary aspect, which will save a lot of weight. It's the way sport bikes are. That's I don't know. I'm guessing that.
Yeah.
But what do you think about
guessing on this podcast?
What do you think about the live wire, man? That I didn't care for it, and then I heard the video clip of it, and I heard the way it sounded.
I didn't hear the way
it kind of gave me this like, that sounds futuristically badass.
Okay, man, I was totally ready for you to start hating on this bike.
No,
man, I'm ready. I haven't found anyone who likes the live wire, and I tell you what, I am all 100% for it.
I think it's
given
cool.
a few things. Okay, it's not gonna replace a Harley.
True.
I mean, I would never go and be like, oh yeah, I got a Harley, it's a live wire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for its purpose, like, check this. This is what I was thinking. This is when I first heard about the live wires a few years ago. Now they're coming out. I'm sure the price is going to be ridiculously high for what I want one for. But once they get to that used market, or if they do happen to be cheaper, and I'm thinking, if I could get a live wire and just use it as my commuter bike to work, I ride, it's 25 miles for me to go one way to work. That's 50 a day. So even if it only had people say, oh, the charge, if it had a 70-mile charge on it or something like that, it's perfect. If I could get one and I could still ride, I'm not racking up miles on my nice bikes. I got zero gas bill at this point. I'm saving all that money on gas. I'm not worrying about my bike overheating in the summers out here and stuff.
Yeah.
And I got to ride a bike because the traffic's hell going to work where I work.
Then you're not going to be able to say that you have no reason to lane split anymore.
Good point. But I have the whole reason of the bike is to lane split. So.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. But no, I mean, I thought if it was in like 5-7K, I could see, like I said, I know that's not what they're going to be coming out, but when they get to that point, but I'm also super stingy and cheap, I could see me getting one just for that purpose, just because it's a bike I really don't see me wanting to customize, so I don't got to worry about it being down or having to do this or that. If it was a low maintenance bike that I didn't have to put gas money in and I could ride it to work every day, no, it's not going to be the bike I ride out to a bike night or go across country on, but I think it'd be cool just for that sole purpose. It's just commuting to. That's 12,000 miles a year for me.
Well, and, with Tesla over the years, like really innovating how they've made these cars, the Tesla cars with power and torque out the ass.
I'd love to see what they ride like. Yeah, they say they.
And that's what I'm hearing is that it's super torque on these things, and I think that's fucking cool. I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously, at some point in time, if we as humans can stay together and not blow ourselves up, a lot of things are going to go towards the more electricity stuff. It makes sense.
It's just going to happen.
Definitely. So, I don't know, man. Like I said, I heard the sound of it, and it completely changed my tune.
What is it? What, they got like a speaker on it that makes a motorcycle sound?
No, it's like it's some movie shit, man. Just some stuff you would think.
Like the Jetsons?
Well, like, kind of. Actually, very close to that. But not so childish. Like a little bit. Like if the Jetsons were, in a 9 Inch Nails video or something, just something a little more gritty and rough. But
I know that's one bike. I've never test rode a Harley, period. Like at a dealership. Only test rode on used bikes I was buying. But that's one I'll go test ride just because I'm super curious. I mean, it's just completely foreign. It's going to be a completely different thing. like I said, I'm a really open guy though. I'm willing to give anything a chance and see what it's about. I mean, if it's better, it's better. I mean, like I said, just like the Softail, it's from what I've heard and seen ride next to it, people really like it. And it could be better. I don't know. I mean, I haven't rode one yet myself because they're out of my budget. So there's no point me buying one and then wanting to go buy a bike I can't afford. So at this point, it's out of my reach. But if it's a better bike, it's a better bike. I mean, I'll be an open guy about anything and give anything a shot.
Like I said, man, I think that the live wire just looks cool though. I mean, it's
looks. I'm not sure if I'm with you on the looks thing.
Well,
let me pull
how I'm looking at it is completely different. I'm not looking at it with.
See, I need those taller bars on that bike.
Oh yeah, but it has a nice little look to it, man. I dig it, you know. But I'm not looking. This is the one Harley that I'm not looking at with Harley eyes. I'm just looking at it like that looks like the kind of bike that would be on a futuristic movie or some shit, you know.
Oh, it definitely looks like something out of a futuristic movie. I mean, like I said, they can't just. I don't know if they can keep building that same. I mean, solely keep building that same bike they've always built. I mean, every other manufacturer in the automobile or, bikes, cars, everything, everyone's changed and progressed except Harleys haven't that much. They still have that same basic look that they've always had.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a draw for that, but I don't know if they can survive on just that. I mean, I think it'd be one thing if they're bringing these bikes out and canceling all their other bikes. Like, this is what the direction Harley's going in, and we're done. No more Softails, no more baggers. This is what Harley is. That's not what they're doing, though. They're just adding this in.
Yeah.
What it's going to turn into, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of ballsy dropping 4 brand new bikes at the same time.
Well, I think they're the courses over the course of years, so.
But I mean, like in development, it's like they can't really go all in on one. Like, okay, we're really trying to push into the adventure market. No, they're trying to poke their fingers into 4 different markets,
And that raises my question of, do you think that they have enough? They couldn't quite understand the simplistics of the age gap thing. Like, I think we figured it out. So Harley, if you're listening, there you go. Throw us a bike or something. But that's the thing though. Is like, I mean, maybe they've already tried that shit. Maybe they already tried, using the salesmen to get more knowledgeable on cultures and scenes. But how are you going to sell these bikes to people when now you almost got to educate your sales staff just as much? I mean, does Harley have like they have like seminars for their bikes, or are they just sending emails like the one you got?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
How much are they training the sales on?
It's a lot of new stuff to learn when somebody walks in and, okay, they want to break down on a new road glide, and then they want to break down on this adventure bike and then the sport bike. You got to know a lot of stuff at that point for being your average salesman. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't generally go to dealerships. I don't know how quick those guys are with all that information, but it seems like a lot to know about.
It's a lot to know about, and like I said, you have to know your customer. You have to know all the different types of customers that are going to walk in and where to direct them into the style of bike that's going to fit what you think they are. I mean, obviously it's up to them what they choose to buy, but some dude that's just you might see this dude and be like, man, you are fit for a Sportster. Like, you're what you want to do on the bike, what you told me. There's a whole fucking scene of kids out there, or grown ass men that do that kind of, and girls that do that kind of riding and do that kind of shit.
Talking Sportsters.
You might be able to get them on Alitas or something, They might take them. But, you can get people on these bikes and you can help them find real happiness in motorcycling because they've also found this bike that they enjoy riding, but even better, they found people that are like-minded that ride with them, Oh, yeah. There is that first initial, hey, man, you go ride with the Hog chapter. They like everybody, but it's not the same, man.
Well, sometimes we forget, too. I mean, we're so deep in this, and we have numerous bikes, and we're always buying and selling bikes and building bikes. I mean, you forget how many dudes I don't know about but I've worked with or something. Mm-hmm. Like, I've worked with old dudes before, like in their 50s, who have a Sportster, and they're like straight up biker dude. I ride that bike every day, and they love that bike more than I love any of my bikes. And this is like a 93 Sportster, but that dude thinks it's the coolest fucking thing in the world. And
that's cool.
Sometimes you forget how other people are who aren't as deep into all this. Like, dudes who just go nuts over their one bike, and
we're
it's just a different
desensitized.
perspective. Yeah, it's just a completely different perspective. Like, he doesn't care that it doesn't have the newest whatever that this bike has, doesn't have all the power, all that. It's just some dudes just want to be on a Harley and stuff, and like that's been their goal their whole life, and they got it, and that's their pride and joy. And that kind of brings me also to, like I said, all that kind of market research you could say I've been doing for free for Harley, talking to people. So I posed a few questions to a bunch of guys at my job, ranging from like age 20 to 45, and just asking them a few simple questions like, why don't, did I go over this on the podcast or when we were just talking about the questions? Okay, I'll try and get quick. Like, do you, why don't you ride a motorcycle? If you, do you want to? And if you, would you want to ride a Harley? And what kind of Harley would you want if you did? And if you don't really know the models, what would you look for in a Harley? Like if you were going to go to the Harley dealership and I said, hey, man, I'd say I just hit the lottery and I told everybody at work, I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to buy each of you guys a bike. Go to the dealership, pick one out. What would you be looking for in a bike? Would you be going in there and saying, hey, man, like what's the best performing bike you got? Like I just want, power, handling, all this and that. Like I like to go fast. Or are you going to go in there and be like, man, I just want to find a bike that looks cool, that I feel like, and all that kind of stuff. You're comfortable, cool. You just cruise. What is it you would pick if you could just go pick out a bike if price wasn't an issue? Well, first thing people answered when they say why they don't ride, a big reason was price. They felt like Harleys are just too much. They don't want a crotch rocket or something like that. They feel like that's kind of kid stuff. And they'd want a Harley, but they don't feel like they can afford a Harley. And then when asked them about what kind of bike they'd want, overwhelmingly, I didn't have one person at my job, this is from 20 to 45, talk about they wanted performance, that played zero factor. Mm-hmm. Everybody. And that's what I mean. We all talk about how performance is. That's what Harley needs to do. Harley needs to do this. Maybe to get the veteran riders or our small niche to buy a new Harley. But as far as we're talking about bringing in these new riders, that's not what I was getting. Even guys I talked to who raced motocross their whole life, grew up racing bikes. And was like, no, man, I don't even want to. If I got a Harley, I don't want to perform. I don't want it to haul assets because it's not going to compare to that. Yeah, exactly. It's not going to compare to racing, and stuff. He's like, I want something I can just go take the wife on a Sunday cruise. That's pretty much what everybody said. They'd want something they can ride to work, and just relax, or the weekend go. It's a nice day out, go riding around, pull up at a bar. Say maybe pick up a chick on, like that kind of stuff. Like basically. Kind of what Harley does that we give them shit for. Like, your standard baggers, except, like I said, they feel like most of these bikes are overpriced. Mm-hmm. But they want like a bagger or Softail, or like when I explained what a Dyna was, because most of them didn't know. I'm like, it's basically like a bigger Sportster, because they're all like, Sportster's too small. I'm like, well, Dyna's basically like a bigger version, full size. You could ride with your wife comfortably on one. Mm-hmm. And that's what every one of them said. Like nobody wanted, not a single person at my job. I said, this is what I feel like is exactly Harley's demographic. Guys, middle class who can afford it, blue collar workers in that age range. None of them gave a shit about performance. Like I said, maybe they would once they got on because you always want a little more. Exactly. At least people on our, but maybe that's just people on our scene that are drawn to that. But there's a lot of other scenes out there. All those guys riding those Softails, like the older Softails. They're not putting those fishtails on there to get power. Like it's a look and feel. And that's what everyone. I mean, I talked to probably 15 people at my job, maybe a little more, and not one person. I said, well, would performance matter at all? Like, would you care if this bike's faster or slower or if it handle better? Everyone said wouldn't be even a consideration. I wouldn't even ask about any of that. It would just be looking cool and comfortable is basically what they're looking for in a Harley. And at a price point that they can afford, which $25,000 for a bagger is not what they can afford. Yeah. They were saying if they could go buy a Harley for closer to 10, 15, which I was telling them, the Dyna, Softail, whatever, is about that range, a little bit more. But that's what they'd be looking for in a bike, is a $10,000, $15,000 bike that's full size that they can put their wife on and just go cruise on. They said more like they'd want to treat it more like a Cadillac than, a sport bike. I guess that makes. I mean, you're probably. I mean, you are 100% right. It's very anecdotal. Yeah. This is 15 people. This is Texas. I mean, the performance scene is kind of buzzing in Texas, but it's still. That just goes to show you how we feel like it's growing so much, but it's not really. I mean, it's still a very small part of the market. Yeah. So I mean, like most people that are going to get on Harley, they're probably like you just said. I mean, I 100% agree. They're just gonna go for the. Man, I want to cruise this. That looks fun. I like the video that Harley posted of this guy just slowly taking the canyon corners. That looks fun. Go seeing the country. And, I think that for all of us, though, that once we get on one, then, the sound becomes something. I mean, I want something that makes a little noise. When I think the sound comes. I don't know if the performance always is, because there's lots of guys who don't want to ride hard, but most people do want their bike to sound good. Yeah. It's always the same. It's like you want, most people that get a Harley are going to be exhaust, air cleaner,
bar, seat. Those are the 4 things most people are going to put on their bike that's really...
And they need that Fast Life garage paint, to bring in all that pussy at the bar.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Man pussy.
It hasn't worked for me yet, though. I got 2 bikes painted by him.
So it's like it never... It really does become that, but I mean, like... I guess my question is, because there's a lot of us that have been in Harleys for so long, is our wants and needs from the dealership relative? I mean, do you mean to tell me that? I mean, I know that you're both we're both huge FXR fans. You think if they would have dropped an FXR based motorcycle, FXR frame based motorcycle with the M8 in it and just a few of the options similar to what they came out with, would you not be interested?
Me personally, I don't think so. I'm too much of a purist. And it just wouldn't be cool. Like, I'd rather do stuff myself. Like, at that point, I feel like I'm just buying my cool instead of, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm earning it when I do all the shit myself. Well, that's what I did when I bought my FXR. I wasn't cool until I bought one. Yeah, well, yeah, but then you built it. You weren't cool when you had it just how you bought it. It was cool when you did all the work.
That's the chain of command there.
I mean, you know what I mean. Like, you feel like you worked for it. You tore it down to the frame. You put it all back together, and you feel like now it's cool, and I made it cool. I didn't just go buy it cool, which is really nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with slaving away at work, saving all that money, saving those payments, skipping those dinners to go buy it. That is cool. I'm just saying, for me personally, and I feel like you too, the cool... For us, is making it cool. Not
I would
buying
buy
it cool.
I would buy it and tear it down to the frame and redo everything. But, I mean,
that's also a small market. Because, like I said, I mean, I can ride, a fully built FXR up to my job, like the white and orange one you painted, or my blue RP. I ride them up there, and nobody at my job gives a fuck. But then dude comes up there, like another guy works there. He's got a cool little bagger. It's got like a little bit bigger wheel, and it's nothing huge, probably like 21, maybe 23. I don't know. It's seen. It's like a $10,000-$12,000 road glide, and it's lowered and everything. And dudes go ape shit over that bike.
Yeah.
My bike worth more? Yeah. Do I think my bike's 10 times cooler? Yeah. I mean, nothing against his. I mean, his is nice for what it is. I think it's a very tasteful bagger.
But it's more appealing to the mass public.
But that's what everyone's always like. I ask them about bikes. Like, even before this whole little study, everyone's just like, yeah, man, fucking Brad's bike is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, man, I want one like Brad. What's Brad got? How much do I got to spend to get a bike like Brad's bike? And I'm like, I let him know and tell him this and that and everything. But, like, nobody gives a fuck about my FXR. I guess it looks like shit to most people. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I like it because I like it. But that's the general public.
Yeah. That's what's cool about. That's why I guess I flock to it, is because they are great handling bikes and they are amazing, but they're not as abundant. For us, we see them everywhere now. But as far as the mass public in the world, like everybody else seeing it,
we don't see them everywhere. We see them everywhere online.
Yeah, exactly.
Riding around.
Yeah, like if you ever see a full fairing RP or RT or RD out there, you're like, might come yourself. You're like, what the fuck? Who is this guy?
At least in Texas, California guys are like, bro, I see one every day.
I don't even see him out in Cali that much, dude. It's like, like at John Jessup's place, a lot of them pulled up, but it's like,
but just riding around.
Riding around. No, you're seeing FX. I mean, like Dynas, you might see an FXR here and there, but
just like I always said about choppers, like you go to like Chopper Supply and they have a thing, or like any Giddy Up, it's like all these choppers are around, and it's like, I have not once ridden by a chopper driving by me on the street. Like, not once have I ever, like, my whole life that I can think of. I've been in them for 10 years now. To the point where I would think I'd notice.
Yeah.
Not once have I been driving up and down 35 to work every day and seeing a chopper pass me going the other way, or not once. Like, where are they? Like, I mean,
they only come out when the Instagram stories come out.
I'm not trying to talk shit on them, but it's just like you're saying with the FXRs. It's like they're not that, or I guess I was saying, like, they're not as popular as we feel like, Like,
but it feels cool to be in that subculture. It feels cool to be a part of that. And
look at all my bikes. I like shit that's wrong. I like
that's wrong.
that's not the norm,
But it makes sense. I mean, okay, like, I was gonna bring this up to you. I wanted to do this podcast with you a while back, but this is like something we could talk about it. But yeah, you notice how, like, on the chopper scene, like, a lot of people would they don't want new people coming around. They kind of want it to stay like gritty or chopper or whatever the fuck they say. This is kind of a theory that I have, and it could be completely off, but I just want to throw it at you. So when this whole vintage chopper thing started blowing up, which I was not aware of it or even paying attention to it, and obviously there's a lot of talented fabricators in there, but do you think, like, that core group of people that started bringing this thing back that were pretty basically skilled? I mean, you see some of these paint jobs on their bikes. It doesn't take a lot of work or skill to do them. And I'm imagining some of the actual fabrication work on some of the more primitive ones, the OG dudes of the reboot of the chopper thing.
You're talking about the reboot after the TV show Chopper. You're talking about after that crash when it came back.
The reboot after that, yeah. So do you think that maybe this core group or these people like wanted to stay sketchy and wanted to stay kind of low key and not a lot of money in it because it could kind of put the scene back into what the TV choppers were, to where it becomes all about like people building wildly crazy fabricated up bikes that are just not practical anymore? Not
you saying that they were worried about it getting back to that,
or maybe it floods the it floods the scene with more people coming in and putting more money into the bikes, to where it gets to the point where, you know, like you said with the dude with Brad at your job, he has the appealing bike, so it starts to overpower all the cultural bikes. You know what I mean? I really don't have the best way to explain this concept, but I feel like, you know, once you start getting talented people or more skilled people into the scene, that's when you start hearing the people talk about, man, this thing's not cool anymore because so-and-so's here and now they're building crazy bikes. And you see people like rebelling against that, like what happened with the show class stuff this year and all that stuff on
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, because I can see where that comes from. I mean, I get the same way, for instance, with like FXRs, and I'm not necessarily an OG. I mean, I was the first person I knew out here with one, but it had blown up in California before I got into them. I'm far from before the craze. It just hadn't hit out here, and I just kind of stumbled into it. So now that I jumped into it, I just happened to get an FXR and then, you know, searched out the information on them and just kind of stumbled into it, like I said, before it got big. But I sometimes feel the same way, like that. Oh, it's just getting too big, and like I'm always trying to help people get in. Like people always say to me, "Hey, about finding FXR." I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to help so many. I'm always helping friends get FXRs. I put like 5 friends on FXRs, and so it's not that I'm not trying to see it grow, but there is like some weird part of me that doesn't want it to. That I'm like, man, it's just getting too big, and it's getting watered down now, and then all the money starts flooding in, and like I feel like I liked it better before all the inverted front ends and aluminum swing arms, and I feel like it just starts getting gaudy. And like, I'm not saying that stuff's wrong by any means. I feel like it's more just me. And like I said, I like weird things. I like things that are different. I don't like to be doing the popular stuff. So when my thing starts becoming popular, it just almost feels like, do I even keep doing it at this point? Which I feel like is super lame on my part. Like, I feel like for some reason I have this thing where it's only cool to me if it's not cool to anyone else, which it just doesn't make any sense. But I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like I feel like if everyone's doing it, then fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore. Which I feel like it's super lame thing to say or feel. But I mean, it's just true. Like I try and like suppress that. Like I said, I'm still trying to help people come in and everything. But I don't know. I feel like that's maybe what happens with those guys too. Like especially after the chopper craze, guys getting into it, choppers were not a big thing. So like, it was dudes who were really into it because it's what they wanted to be into and everything. And then you get all these guys who are getting into it just because it's the cool thing. And then they start feeling like they're infringing on their thing. Like, no, man, like it used to be, I saw a guy with this isn't me talking, I'm saying like how they probably felt. Like I used to see a guy on a shovel head or a hardtail or something. And like, I knew we had this connection because nobody was into that. So I saw you on that and I'm on that. Like, okay, we got this going on, you know? Now it gets all watered down and everyone's doing it. And it's like, I guess you might start feeling like, okay, I don't know if that's the case anymore. Like, it's almost like how it was with FXRs a little while ago. Like I said, I'm not trying to talk shit though on people getting into it because I'm glad to see the industry growing and everything. It's good for a lot of people. I got a lot of friends who make a lot of money in the industry. I'm happy for them. But like it starts losing that to where like you see a guy on FXR, it's like, you know, you're on that same wavelength. You know, it's like you're riding a 30-year-old bike and stuff, and most people bought them for that specific reason, and they're keeping it going. And then you start seeing them everywhere and stuff, and guys just buying them already built, and which is cool. I'm glad people do. But then you just start feeling like maybe everyone you see on one isn't on that same wavelength anymore.
Yeah, it's not that
because they're getting it because it's cool. They're not getting it because it's what they're really into.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to say that a lot of things that I get into is because I think they're cool, and obviously usually once it gets into my eyes, it's because it's already cool. You know, it's like I'm not the dude that's gonna go out there and invent something cool. You know, I'm definitely a fucking I'm
not gonna invent anything cool either. Don't worry. So, I might invent some stuff, just not cool stuff.
But like I was surprised last year at the FXR show when Trask brought out that fucking monster 143 turbo bike with full, key fob twin cam setup, and it got a lot of likes and people dug it, but it didn't win shit. It's like, it's almost like the scene itself doesn't want it to. They don't want $70,000 FXRs running around.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I haven't been to any of the shows where there's winners and stuff to really. I don't really follow all that too well because like you'll see all that stuff on like Instagram, but people always get so caught up on who won and everything. Like I'll hear people talk about that, but I'm like, fuck, I don't know who won the FXR show in Sturgis any year. Yeah. Like, I mean, props to the guy for winning. I'm glad he won, but it's like, and I know people, I would feel honored if I went and I won, but I mean, in the grand scheme, I don't think many people who aren't there even know who wins.
Well, if you put, like we've always talked about with the show aspects, it's like, I think the most FXR guys just want to hang around other FXR guys, which
that's the FXR jam.
Yeah. So, I mean, in Sturgis, to get them all together, sometimes you got to put a show. You got to call it a show, that, and same thing with San Diego Customs and Born Free. But realistically, I think the coolest part of all of it is just having all these dudes together. If you can find a way to pull the politics out of it, but still, which I felt like at the FXR show last year, it was like that. Nobody was hating on anybody. Everybody was just fucking walking around, congratulating, pointing on bikes, going, "That's fucking cool. That's fucking cool."
That's mostly been my experience with them.
And that's what was cool. That's what I loved about it. I didn't get the same vibe at the San Diego one, but on the same token, I mean, yeah, that's a big show. You know what I mean? You got Born Free, you got all the cool guys on Instagram.
California, I mean, it's everyone trying to.
There were
really
people
floss.
that came up to me that said, "Man, I loved your bike. I've been following you coming out here." And there was people that I recognized that I could come up to and talk to them. But I mean, there was so many FXRs out there, and also, man, you gotta understand. Like, I had very young FXR eyes. I didn't have a huge appreciation for like an RP, like an OG police model RP that was all done right until like Chris finished his. You know what I mean? And
which one?
The one that I painted. But and even when I first finished his bike, I was like, that looks good, but I wasn't like, damn, it took a while seeing those bikes in person, like at the performance show in Orlando. Like when I saw a couple of them together, I'm like, and I started just kind of walking around checking them out from different angles, then I start to love them and appreciate them for what they are. Like right now I'm still kicked on like a full fairing, lowers, clamshells. That's kind of my go-to favorite look. I'm not a huge fan of police bags, but I look at a police bike and with the bags on it and I'm like, that fits. Like I don't think I would get the same enjoyment I see in that bike with clamshells. You know what I mean? So it fits. But yeah, I mean, like I said, with that whole scene and with everything, it's like, I feel like sometimes people don't want people to come in because it's going to bring in more money, more talent, and some people can't keep up with that type of,
Probably to an extent, yeah. I mean, there's plus and minuses to it. I mean, there's that, but then, I mean, the more money it comes in, if you are in the industry, maybe it's harder to keep up, but it does drive the prices up, and which, if you're trying to make money in it, that's going to help you out. But I don't know. I mean, I think everyone's going to have their own reasons. I'm sure there's plenty of dudes who, like I said, I can't be the only one who's weird like that and just kind of likes their thing to be their thing. And then once it gets cool, they kind of feel like it's not their thing. I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels that way. But
for me, what I hate is that like D-rate choppers are obviously popular right now, right? For the chopper scene?
No.
They're not popular?
No, not so much. And,
okay, well I think they're fucking cool as shit looking now, and I didn't like them at first.
Well, there is a big misunderstanding with D-rake choppers too. Because, I mean, D-rake means low, decreasing the rake.
Yeah.
And a lot of bikes that get called D-rake choppers don't actually have less rake. They're either stock rake or sometimes over rake. They're just not stretched out. Pretty much any bike that goes up without getting stretched out, people call it a D-rake because it just got that different look. It doesn't look like your typical chopper, and people assume it's a D-rake, which the more I've kind of delved into that, I've realized that's not the case. Because when I was doing mine, I was like talking to a lot of people who were big in that, like in the Midwest and stuff, where it's always been pop. It's always been big up there. It still hasn't really left that area a whole lot. And that's, in talking with a lot of those guys, are finding out like rakes on different bikes. I've been a big fan of that. I thought were D-rakes. Come to find out they aren't. Some of them even raked a degree or two out. It's just, it's just the zero stretch that's making it, give it that different look.
Do they handle well?
From what I've been told, yeah. I mean, like I said, most of them got pretty stock rake. And so if you're going up, you're going up, and then you're well. First off, a lot of them don't got springers. They're either running girders or hydraulic front ends, and you're going up. Some of them even come in a little bit, no out. So if you got your stock rake go up without going out, you're not increasing the wheel. Well, you're not increasing the wheelbase by nearly as much as if a typical chopper, somewhere you're going up, maybe up 6 and 3 out. And then you rake it 3 degrees, and then you put a long springer on. Now your bike's 9 foot long. You're not really like my FXR chopper. I did derake that one a little bit, but I also went up and 2 inches in. And the wheelbase is exactly the same. I mean, I didn't actually even plan that, but I did check it. But it's exactly the same as stock, the wheelbase on that one. So I got to assume that has to play with the handling. But I mean, I haven't rode one, but I've talked to lots of people who have, and they all say it handles great. Like that Dyna I posted on Jaren's. I was asking him about it, and he says he feels like it handles better than it used to. It's a stock rake, 6 up, and that one's actually 6 up, 3 out. And he says he thinks it handles better. But he's a big dude, too. I mean, he's like a really big dude. And he said it's basically a Dyna built for big guys, the way he looks at it. It just fits him like a stock Dyna fits most people, because he's like Mark sized, I think even bigger than Mark. And so it's just, but he said he didn't feel like it hurt the handling at all. So
yeah, it's weird. Like I was texting you the other day, those chopper guys or those people that were doing all those.
Al Emerson.
Emerson, that shit is so badass, dude.
Dude, that dude's the best.
God, man, like. And you know what? It's all been an evolution of me, like, falling in love with these style of bikes because, just I didn't know much about fabrication, and I didn't know much about that, but starting to appreciate that and appreciate the work makes me appreciate the style of bike a lot more, you know, as opposed to, like, just looking at it from an aesthetically point of view, like, how does it look on the curb?
Well, now just like you said with the FXRs, the deeper you get into it, the more you can appreciate different things. Like, you might not appreciate an FXRP, you get deep into it, you can appreciate those things. Same thing with choppers. That might look really cool, but then you kind of get into the scene and you kind of it's just an aftermarket frame with it's just all these little just kind of bolt together things. It just kind of, not that it looks worse, but it just kind of loses its cool to you. At least that's how it is to me. To where like I look at a bike and I could see all these one-off little handmade parts, and it's just like it makes the whole bike look better to me because you could just appreciate all that quality work into the bike. And that's something like Al Emerson, and anyone who isn't familiar, that's Emerson Al on Instagram, and dude builds the craziest choppers. I mean, not like crazy and like way wild and anything like that, just clean. Like the super clean, like super clean work, and just flawless execution. Everything, machining, welding, everything is just flawless.
It makes me wonder, like, why I even give a fuck about these new bikes that are coming out, because everything I get jazzed over anyway is all shit from like dudes building choppers, dudes building FXRs, dudes doing Dyna shit. Like, exactly. Like, part of me is like, fuck, man, like, why even get riled up about like what Harley's doing when?
Well, that's why I don't like. I do it for fun. I mean, like I said before you texted me about doing the podcast tonight, I saw that post this morning when I woke up. The bikes and everything, and I was just like, fuck this. I was just like, social media's been getting me on my last nerve lately anyway. Just a bunch of all the normal social media bullshit, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not even getting involved in this. I'm not reading any of the comments on these new bikes. I looked at them, had my opinion, was leaving it at that. And then you texted me, and I was like, all right, well, if we're going to talk about them, I guess I need to figure out what's going on with them. So I got all deep in it and everything. But, I mean, realistically, it doesn't matter a whole lot to me. Like I said, aside from the fact I want to see Harley succeed, I'm not going out and buying one. I mean, I've got such a long list of bikes I want to build that are older bikes that, like, I want to build this kind of chopper and that kind of chopper, and I still want to build this kind of FXR, finish my FXR chopper. Yeah. I mean, when does buying a new bike fit into any of that? It doesn't.
Well, see, I kind of set myself the goal of doing an adventure bike by 2020. Yeah. I mean, technically, I wanted to do one, and so, I mean, when it came out, I'm like, I'm a Harley guy. I love it. I mean, I haven't got it tattooed on me yet, but I do love Harley. That would be cool if it was going to be everything. If it could live up to the BMW. Or
it's just the price point, I think, is what's really going to hurt. I have a hard time seeing them bringing the price right. They never do.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, man? But realistically, I think the other thing was, like, this is really out of character for them for the release that far down the line stuff right before whatever new models they're going to release is coming out.
So weird. I mean, I don't know what... I have no idea I don't know if, like, they got worried the photos were leaked or what. I mean, I don't know. I guess not, because Kerpius said he just took the pictures. You know, I don't know if you follow Kerpius, but he just made a post today saying they called him to come in and shoot the pictures. He only had a couple hours to do it, and those are the pictures we saw. And so I guess that's not it. That's what I was kind of thinking is maybe they got leaked, but they just had them. I don't know. I mean,
well, you know, like obviously they got to come out with some new models. Usually when they don't have anything major, they'll release what is it, like just new colorways, maybe some options and stuff like that. So, I mean, I get why Harley never released the models, because they didn't want to like stifle sales for that next year or whatever, you know what I mean? So if they released in, you know, June, we're coming out in August with the new Milwaukee 8 motor, then everybody that's buying, people are gonna be like, well, I'm gonna wait to buy the new Road Glide. So you know,
I don't get it, because it's the same thing with these. Like, you're gonna go buy a new Softail, you're gonna drop 18 grand. If I was just about to go buy one, I'd be like, let me hold off a year. Let me go, you know, before I drop 18 grand, let me see what this one's about. You know? And so I just got another option. Let me give them a try.
It makes it really, you know, and you know, with all the, I guess, the slack they got with the misunderstanding of shipping, you know, building bikes out of the country, which I guess everybody figured out what was actually going on with that stuff about.
I mean, I've read all the information as soon as it came out, and so I wasn't confused at all. But I know most people just read the headline and said, lost their mind. But, you know,
I just posted a question and asked, and then everybody and their fucking mom started going crazy. Yeah. It's anything to do with the president. It's just, wow. Tribalism, man. It's fucking insane.
It is brutal. I mean, it's brutal on both sides. It's just to clarify that, because I know you said with the president, I don't want people thinking you're just talking about his supporters. It's the
both.
President, his supporters, and his not supporters. It's ridiculous.
It's sad, man. It's sad because, like, none of the people that I surround myself with, they're not on purpose, but nobody that I really hang out with ever brings shit like that up. Like, it's not part of our conversation ever.
Oh, like, I'm super, super political. I just talk about it with a very select few, because if you don't have an open mind, or if you're not really knowledgeable on it, I just don't have an interest in talking to you about it, because most people don't. Like, not to talk down on people, just most people are like, oh, I never follow politics, but let me give you my opinion. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've been following it since I was a little kid. Like, you know, I kind of grew up in a very political house, so it's like,
well, it'd be different. Like, me and you were sitting here at the table, you know, and we
that's
were talking
the only way I'll talk too, is
but you don't want to put it on like Front Street where everybody's like getting to
social
chime
media.
In. Exactly. I'll never do that again.
Never. You don't see me post stuff on social media. I didn't even
post any. I just asked the question if Harley was shipping this stuff out. So it was a crazy, man. It was insane how wild it got. But
gotta be careful today. It's 2018, man.
Nothing's off limits anymore.
No.
Yeah, man. So the bikes seem cool, man. But like I said, I just don't know how it really fits in with my idea of what Harley is to me. Like the Livewire, cool. Electric bike sounds cool. Definitely not spending 30 grand on it.
Yeah.
Definitely not. It's like, it goes to that point. It's like, that would not be my only bike.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, I don't blame Harley for it, because I mean, you also do have, while it wouldn't be my only bike, there might be someone out there who would. I mean, people, I could see non-Harley people buying an electric motorcycle, and I mean, I don't know, does anyone else even make an electric motorcycle?
Did you see that also was kind of like thrown in the background of that video, but they're making like supposedly tons of like smaller electric like scooter type bikes, like Vespa type stuff.
I saw little prototypes for that and stuff.
The motherfuckers had ape hangers on it. I think that's kind of cool looking, you know?
Well, and that's another thing we talked about today at work, is talking about like getting younger riders and stuff. Is why not Harley come out, like if they're branching off and doing other things while they're doing that, why not come out with like a dirt bike or something like that? Something, you know, you grow up riding a Harley dirt bike, and then it just makes sense. Like, how many guys I know who grew up riding like Kawasaki dirt bikes and stuff, and like they got that brand loyalty from when they were a kid. Yeah. Between that and the flat track racing, they just get their ass kicked by Indian over and over. Like, how many people? I mean, when I went to the flat track, we were watching, it's like, it made me want an Indian. It's like, man, Indian's fucking kicking ass. Like, it made me want to be like, I want to go try an Indian. And I mean, I've always been Harley, but it's just, there's just something to it. You see that winner, and you know, like you see a race and stuff, you think that Harley be taking that more serious. Yeah. And I don't know why they're not. Like, I feel like, how could they not? I'd say, how could they not be able to win? But fuck, everybody wants to win. So, I mean, I know it's not that easy. Yeah. But you'd think they'd be putting more focus in that. I mean, you go out there, like I had my kid with me, people bringing their kids out, you know, it's like, you want yeah, I mean, you don't want to tell your kid, yeah, we're going for the Harley, and the Harley loses, and like, yeah, Indian got first, second, and third, and you're like, sorry, kid, Harley kind of sucks. And then you expect your kid to be like, yeah, I can't wait to grow up and own a Harley. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I've been watching flat track racing the past 5 years, and they get their ass kicked every time.
And it's crazy how like fast that's becoming such a popular thing, and it's entertaining.
Which is great. Yeah, I mean, it really was entertaining. Like, I was super surprised. Like, I took my 8-year-old daughter, and I mean, she was just so stoked. Like, I never know. I mean, she doesn't do anything I want to do. So,
yeah,
you know, I mean, I'm like, you want to go watch motorcycle racing? Yeah, super stoked. And I wasn't sure if we get there and she's just like, I'm bored, or can we go get some more food? Like, not wanting to really watch it. The race is starting. She's up there just standing up, watching and stuff, and like, you know, rooting whoever on, like whatever number she's going for. And I mean, it's exciting. I mean, I feel like that's a great way to bring people in.
Fast-paced thing too. You know,
I don't know why they're not winning. I'm sure maybe they're probably wondering the same thing, but
yeah, it's tough, man. I guess that it's such a new thing, and you know, it's really hard for me, I imagine for Harley to kind of figure out which eggs to put in which baskets, man.
That's the thing. They got a lot of eggs in a lot of baskets right now.
And I mean, I wonder if Indians is worried about getting new riders on new bikes. If maybe their shareholders isn't as big as Harley, so they don't have as many.
Oh, they have more money because they got Polaris back in them, so they've got more money to throw at stuff.
But they have the comfort of just building something naturally. Yeah. And it seems like Harley's trying to get instant results with everything. And even though obviously the things that the press release they release is not instant results. But maybe it's a smart marketing move to generate a buzz for the new direction of Harley.
And that's what I was kind of feeling before is it depends on what they're planning with these 4 bikes here. Like, are they going to just release these and in 2 years they're not really working out, they pull them? Or are they going to long term? Is this going to be like, okay, look, we're getting in the adventure market whether you like it or not. This is what we got. Maybe this isn't the final product. Maybe this isn't what's going to do it, but we are getting into the adventure market, or we're getting into that Street Fighter market. Like,
that's
we
awesome.
are going in. I don't know. That's the thing is we don't know. Like, if they decide to pull in 2 years, the sales aren't there, and they just look at just the numbers. It's the numbers aren't where we projected, so we're pulling it. That's fucking stupid on how I feel like then it's just wasting money.
Well,
but if they're going to go commit, they need to commit.
Hopefully they're smart enough to project their numbers as being low, because they're going to have to build a presence in that scene, in that subculture of motorcycles. And they're going to have to release these bikes and naturally allow them to grow into what they need to be. So, like, it's just like this podcast. The first couple of episodes, sound was shit. Yeah. Content might have been shit.
You can't be like, I don't have 10,000 listeners on your third podcast. I mean,
so I'm done. I quit.
Yeah, it's not working out.
Yeah, so it's like it's got to be a long-term investment to jump into a scene of motorcycles like that, and they got to be able to ride that wave, whether it's, you know, up, down, bad, left, right, the slack they might get for it. I mean, obviously, their BMW might be coming out with a bike, and then it goes into, you know, Biker something magazine, which probably is not going to exist very much longer, and it might get bad reviews, but there's still loyalists in the BMW scene that'll give it a chance, and maybe BMW's listening to the people who are buying the bikes and making changes, making adaptations.
I'm really excited to see how it turns out. That's basically where I'm at. I mean, I'm really excited to see what kind of new information we get. I mean, I'm not even a potential customer for any of this stuff, but
you're a fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan, and I'm excited to see what comes of it. And that's my biggest hope, is that if they're going to do it, they go all in with it. I don't know. Maybe they did the 4, and then whatever does the best, they're going to stick with. The other 3, they'll drop. I don't know.
I mean, you have you seen the long way round and long way down with
I saw one of them a long time ago, but not the other one.
Well, see, the long way around was the first one they did, and they were pushing to get KTM to be the motorcycle sponsor for the deal. And they told them some areas they were going to be riding these bikes to, and KTM pulled and said, we don't want you to ride our bikes through that, because they kind of had a feeling it wasn't going to make it, right? Which would be bad PR for the bikes on TV. And then so BMW stepped up and they took BMWs on this trip, and they had problems. You know, they had subframes breaking and things like that. These things are natural. You know, these motorcycles aren't, you know.
No motorcycle can handle some of that stuff.
So, but ultimately those bikes did make it. And ultimately, I think what it was, KTM said, was the biggest mistake they ever made, not taking that opportunity to do that. And so you wonder, like, well, would it, if on a marketing side, would it not be smarter for Harley to maybe fund a real trip like that and use YouTube
for Harley to give me and you 2 of those adventure bikes, and we'll ride them down to like South America.
Let's go to Argentina, baby.
Yeah, I think that is a great marketing idea.
But it makes
It's a good
sense.
point.
Yeah.
I think they're listening, right?
Yeah.
You guys are listening, right?
I doubt
This is one of the biggest Harley motorcycle podcasts, right?
I wish.
It's got to be close.
No,
they're
not
listening.
even. Not
They're
even.
listening. We'll get
But
our
no,
bikes.
I think that would be. I mean, with YouTube and the ability to make your own, just like they made the videos to promote them, man. You can't tell me that they don't have a budget to put two of anybody. Hell, Kerry Hart. I mean, he's an Indian guy, but just somebody in the motorcycle world, get them to do stuff like that on these bikes, and do a little short mini series on it, just like they do on the YouTube channels on all these things. I think it'll generate a buzz for the bike.
It's just the weirdest press release I've ever seen. Like, what is up? Like, I just can't wrap my head around. Like, here's two pictures and like no information, and have fun, guys. We thought the whole "what's in the box" thing was weird.
Yeah,
I think this one's even weirder, man. Like, I know that one was weird, all the build up, and then they come out with that was, everyone kind of lost their shit over that. But this one seems even weirder. Like, here's two pictures of bikes that are coming out in a year and a half, 2 years from now. No information. No, like, what? It just seems so weird.
No weight,
I mean,
these are concept models.
I guess they want us to talk about it, and I guess we're doing that.
Yeah, getting it rolling. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think that hopefully that their marketing strategy can be a little bit better, and maybe find real enthusiasts that have been Harley loyal people that have a name in it, and not just look for, whoever just has the Instagram following,
Hey, man, I got 2,000 followers. That should be enough for a free motorcycle.
Exactly. It's like, some of the people they gave free motorcycles, it's like some of them were celebrities, and they've never done anything with the bike other than initially opening the bike.
Yeah.
And then, like the
Super
lady
weird.
Lassen chick, you follow her?
No.
That she is a tech at Harley, and she got one, and she rides that thing across the country all the time.
Yeah.
And she's actually giving them the content that they would want out of it. And then other people, obviously Rusty Butcher has done whatever he could possibly do to help make that bike cool, mainly by taking all of the Softail stuff off and putting dyno parts on it. But still, he kind of embraced it and did what he could with it to make it, just kind of bridge the gap between what was there and what it is now.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they market this, because you can't just show somebody riding down a straight dirt road with a couple little tabletop jumps and stuff and think that that's going to sell me on this, know? Like BMW has the Red Bull riders doing the fucking adventure ride and stuff for Red Bull and doing crazy things on these bikes. Can Harley do that? That's going to be.
I mean, yeah, and then you got Indian with the whole jumping in Vegas recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Harley's doing as far as. Hopefully, they give these bikes to some people. I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's a good idea, at least especially with the adventure bike, or giving the Street Fighter one to some guy to go run around on the track with, or hell, I don't even know what the electric bike would do on a track.
What's
That'd be
new?
interesting.
What's new to the V twin world between Indian and stuff is that we've never really had much of anything that's popular that Harley or Indian would be putting like sponsored riders on. Think about that. Like with sport bikes, you got MotoGP, so you always have that stuff. And then, of course, Buell was kind of around for that. But MotoGP is not as huge. I don't want to say that it's not as huge here, but obviously it's way bigger in other.
Definitely not that big.
Yeah.
I mean, it's big, but it's not. At least in America, it's not that big. I mean, especially for non-motorcycle riders.
So, I mean, you got the sport, super sport class, whatever the hell it's called. So there's a little bit of a market for, the Buell, but Harley doesn't have something that can compete with the sport bikes on that track.
Yeah.
So now that we have flat track, now that you're getting to adventure riding, something that has like sponsored riders in. I mean, there was no sponsored riders to ride a bike to a chopper show. I mean, they were trying to do that with influencers, but it wasn't like what these other markets have. You go look up adventure riding, there is a huge, massive, I would almost say it rivals our industry 100%.
Yeah.
If not bigger. You know what I mean? So many people are into that shit. I feel like they're more enthusiastic about motorcycles. Like you said, most of the guys at your job are interested in them, but only for, that weekend thing.
Yeah.
These dudes seem like they're at work, but they're also looking online. They're on these chat rooms. They're on this.
It's hard when you're looking in because, you see those guys that are doing that, but you could easily say the same thing. You Google Harley and you got all the Harley tech forums coming up and stuff. So it could look like every Harley rider is the same way.
I agree.
But I don't know. I mean,
It raises a lot of questions. Man.
Yeah, I mean, well, these new bikes just raise a lot of questions. All of it does, and like, what does Harley need to do to survive? And that's what everyone keeps talking about. What's Harley need to do to survive? And I haven't seen any numbers. How much are they even struggling? I mean, that's what you always kind of hear, but how much are we talking about struggling? I don't know. I mean, like I said, are they struggling because they're not increasing sales, or sales decreasing that much?
Yeah, I'd like to know realistically, have the Softails moved or not?
Yeah,
are they being
I'd like
sold?
to see numbers on that.
Yeah, like what was the projected? Like, what did you expect them to do this year, or what was the whatever that is, and then where did they come out at? Like, that's something I would love to know.
Yeah,
and then
I don't know if they released those kind of numbers or not. But I mean, I know they're not probably going to release their projections. But I mean, as far as their sales or their sales this year compared to the previous year before the Softail. You usually get
that kind of stuff, but yeah.
Like, how did the Softails do versus the old Softails and Dynas combined?
Did raising the price of the baggers almost $4,000? Did it?
Did they really go up that much?
Yeah, they went from like 21,000, 23 to 27,000. So a CVO is $40,000.
That seems crazy.
Back in 2012, they were like a $30,000, $33,000, $34,000 bike. And my buddy Jetty just got a brand new CVO. He got a fucking Ultra 117. It sucks, but. He bought this 117, and he was literally joking on all of us because he's like, yeah, I'm going to go buy this brand new bike because y'all's bikes are always broke down and blah, blah, blah. Fucking motor blows on the ride home from the dealership.
You serious?
Brand new 117. Motor goes.
Man, that's like some AMF era shit right there.
And then check this out. So he got it from Paris Harley Davidson. They completely took care of him on that. No, it was just a manufacturing problem, right? So I was like, man, that's crazy. And then you see that helmet I just posted? I painted the cream and orange and brown. That dude was having
colors.
Yeah, that dude was having Covington build him a brand new bike. He has Covington up, and they built some really nice baggers. Probably one of the best, cleanest, most pristine bagger builders in the country for sure. And every year went and has him build them a new bike for Sturgis, right? And for some reason he likes to have me paint his helmets. I don't get to paint his bikes, but I get to paint his helmets. And so I just shipped his helmet to Sturgis, and brand new 107 built bike, hasn't touched the motor, just put an exhaust and air cleaner on it. They were just trying to make it look good for Sturgis. Test ride, 5 miles, done.
Damn.
5 fucking miles. He sent me a picture of the mileage and the cylinder off. Everything's tore out. It's busted, right? And I'm just thinking to myself, like, that's only 2 people that I know back to back really close. So it's like there's got to be some numbers. Like, this new motor is like all these little cheap things that, like Michael Beelan was posting about, like the plastic tappet things.
Yeah.
The little bitty ass bolt to hold the rockers on. It's like, realistically, like those things should, who knows if that's what made them fail, or if it was just like workers not giving a shit. They was built on a Friday.
Well, it's funny that comes up because that's what I was talking about when all the hoopla came up about not being American made and this and that. And I'm like, man, I spent my whole life working in American manufacturing plants and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to buy nothing American made. I mean, like, it sounds unpatriotic,
and
but
you build trains,
like,
right?
Yeah. And I'm like, it's not. I've seen how most American people who work in manufacturing work, and they do not give a fuck about their job. And I'm like, I mean, American made means more to me in a sense of like the patriotic sense and the fact that I know I'm supporting Americans.
Yeah.
But not, I mean, this is just being honest, but not in a sense of it's better built. That's just straight up. Like, when I see American made, I don't feel like that's better built at all. That comes just, you call that what it is. I know some people probably get mad at that, but that comes from a lifetime of working in manufacturing. And most people I've seen build things way more expensive than motorcycles or cars.
Yeah.
And not give a fuck. You point out, man, look, that's messed up. And they go, I don't give a fuck, man. I don't care about this fucking job. I hear that
fucking
shit
Terry's
all that
getting
time.
on my nerves. I'm not dealing with his shit today. He can eat shit. That door panel's staying the way it is.
Dude, all the time at every job. I'm not talking about my job now. I'm just talking about all the jobs I've had.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, that's just, I mean, I don't have any faith in American manufacturing. And I mean, it sucks to say, but it's just the bottom line.
Well, I was talking to a friend the other day about like paint. And, he was, he does a lot in the collision side of it. And we were just talking about how astounding the cost of paint stuff is starting to get. Like, it's getting ridiculous to the point where it's almost like a bubble. Like the cost of materials, the cost of doing paint jobs nowadays is getting so expensive to use quality materials that it's almost like a bubble that is just growing and growing. And I think, and I'm very ignorant in this, but I think it's because, you have in the collision side of things, which is where the majority of paint is making money at. Us custom painters are a very small percentage, but you have these insurance companies that are working with the individual shops or like the Service Kings or the whoever does the mass amount of repairs for insurance companies, right? They can't really manipulate the cost of materials. They don't have a connection with PPG or 3M or these people to be like, hey, you know what? We need you to cut your price on this and we'll use your products to fix these cars. They don't really have that. And they may, but I don't think they do. I'm pretty sure. But they do have the ability to go to Service King, or they have the ability to go to one of these chain collision centers and go, hey, we're going to give you all our work, but we need you to do them at this price, right? Yeah. So the only people that are getting cut is the laborer and not the products. And since the products know that they pretty much have a stronghold on it, they just keep charging more and more because they're corporations as well.
Like it's that everything's everyone's got to make more money every year, which means everything gets more expensive.
Every year, there's a price increase on paint materials every year from PPG. They send it out. It's known. It's always been this way that, it might be $1 a product or 50 cents a product or whatever, but it's a price increase. And that price increase is literally only increasing to pay shareholders and to pay that kind of stuff.
I feel like this couldn't have been going on forever because it's just like you said, you look at Harley, like, okay, now the mid-grade line goes up $2,000, or in the year before maybe it went up $1,000. The year before that, it went up $1,000. Like, but it's at $18,000. That's what like a new Softail cost, right?
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Well, 16.
Okay, 16, 18. So if it went up like just too recently and like 1,000 before that and 1,000 before that, like what it couldn't have been doing that for the past 30 years or it'd be $30,000. So why all of a sudden is it jumping up so much every year?
Yeah.
Like I get like most things go up, but there's no way it was going up $1,000 every year for 15 years because in 2003 it wasn't $1,000 for a Dyna.
Yeah.
So like why all of a sudden is it jumping up so much every year? Like I said, that's everything. Like you're talking about paint, everything. Why is all this, like I feel like our whole economy is getting on some kind of bubble where everyone just keeps trying to make more and more money because they know they can, and eventually I feel like the shit's got to pop because I mean I feel like everyone's just, the companies or something just getting greedy and they're just pushing it like, we got 15 last year, we could get 16 this year. Oh, we still got 16, let's push it up again.
Yeah, and I mean maybe being completely fair to the corporation side, maybe it's all the people wanting, the burger flippers wanting $15 an hour. Maybe it's those certain areas where these bikes are being made that has a higher cost of living and things like that, which I'm not sure. But
I'm not buying into that one. I'm on that other side of that one, so maybe I'm biased.
As a business owner, I will say this, a lot of people have always said, man, hey, I'm trying to find my passion. I was always like, look in any shop, any type of business, right? Look around. There's hundreds of businesses within that. The people providing the uniforms, the people doing the materials for the paint or the stands or the paint guns or maybe it's the motorcycle lifts or the toolbox or the tools. There's just so many businesses within what most of us need to do. Like think about your job, working on the trains. You got welders, you got the clothing and stuff that you use while you're welding, the masks, the hoods, all that shit. There's just so many things. And when all those things start costing more, then initially the cost of doing the job comes up. Yeah. And so it's almost like, well, maybe Harley's starting to spend more and more money here and there, or it's costing them more money or whatever the case may be. It might not be the bike itself, but maybe the union or whatever wants, better toilet paper in the bathrooms, and now it's, $5 extra a roll or some shit.
And that rolls into the bike.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of factors that I think might go into it, but it's hard to say. It's hard to justify a $2,000 increase.
I just don't feel like this kind of stuff, like I said, all across. I mean, you just look at the housing market out here. I mean, just the way everything's just going crazy. I feel like everything, I don't know. I mean, I was young at the last bubble. That was 2008 when we crashed. And, I was a few years out of high school. And so, I mean, I kind of felt I was on my own at the time and everything, but I wasn't like established with a family. So I didn't feel it as hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like it feels like that direction we're heading again. Like, because I remember that time when like I had friends, like it was easy to get a house, all this and that, like, you know, they were lending all this money, houses were going for so much and everything was getting so expensive. Like I said, the choppers were going crazy then at that time. Everything was so much money. And then now I feel like, you know, then it crashed and it went down to normal. And I feel like that's the same direction we're heading. It seems like it's too quick to do this all over again. I feel like it's not like a generation ago. I feel like we learned this lesson. Like, you know, everyone I know going out and buying the biggest house they can, like, you know, oh, I got approved for $250,000. Sure, do it. You know, even though they can't afford that by any means. You know, like, I feel like we're going right back to the same thing. Everything just getting stupid expensive again, and I don't know. It worries me. That's why I'm glad I'm frugal. So.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm like excited that I don't have any payments right now. Like,
yeah, me too.
Like I own all my bikes, I own all my vehicles. I don't own a house, which, you know, could be good or bad depending on which way you're looking at that situation. But I like the, you know, I kind of like the idea of, you know, if worse comes to worse, then all I need to live is X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lose something I need to survive. And I have plenty of shit that I can sell to kind of keep me afloat for a while.
The best thing about bikes.
Yeah. Cheap ones too, when you know where to find them cheap. But yeah, man, so it's like there's a lot of that goes into it, man. And, you know, I think that because of that bubble that happened in 2008, you got a lot of people that might be a little bit more hesitant about, you know, doing 7, 8, 9 year loans on Harleys, you know, just like all these dualies and stuff that they're selling, like these Ford $100,000 dualies, they're doing.
Crazy.
I heard they're doing 10-year fucking loans on these things.
So crazy.
That's a goddamn house,
dude. That the number you just said costs more than my house.
Yeah,
like straight up.
And these dudes are, and I for a fact know guys that'll go get one of these $70,000 dualies, and then the new one comes out next year in blue. Oh, I'm trading this one in, and they'll go and get under. They'll be in a worse situation because as soon as they bought that $78,000-$80,000 dually and they drove it off the lot, now it's worth $60,000. So they're already $20,000 in the hole. They might have had to put $10,000 or $20,000 down. I don't know, but still,
it's wild, especially when they're buying it and they don't even haul stuff.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, I got to get some wheels and an air horn or a train horn, you know. So it's stupid, you know, but. I mean, I guess the same could be said for us in bikes, but I don't have, you know, $80,000 in a note on a bike.
Yeah.
And even though, like, you can quickly have one of those now with a CVO, I mean, $40,000, dude.
It's crazy. Yeah, 40, and then you know you're still gonna not gonna want that seat, that exhaust. Probably gonna do a little motor work. You know, you're at $50,000 before you know it.
$40,000 bike, $1,000 bike, man. That's insane. Like, that is what choppers were. Like, that was kind of like a big dog back in the day, or an iron horse, you know.
Which, dude, when you look at those bikes, it is crazy when you look at those bikes and just see how simple they are for how much money they got. Like, you see how cheap they go for now, or people list them at, and they still don't even sell at those cheap prices half the time. And like, you look at them, like, at least from me, like from like being more into like the hand built stuff, like you just look at it, it's like, man, it's like, these are just so simple. Like, you know, you got like a big motor. Half the time, I don't know which companies are which. You know, I wasn't really in the scene at that time. But, you know, like half the time it's not even SNS. Like, it's a RevTech or the early Ultimas or something. Yeah. You know, RevTech transmission, and then just like assembly line frame and tank and everything. Yeah, it's like, how is this bike selling for that much money? Like, it just blows my mind.
Dude, it's crazy. You know, that's right when I got into the paint industry, and I was just doing my, you know, I wasn't painting bikes, but I was just in it. And those bikes were paying $35,000, $4,000, up to $10,000 for paint jobs on these things. Dude, when you get a guy on a bagger that's just bought all this crappy shit off eBay, and it needs to all be aligned, and the side cover, you know, body work to fit the bag, and just all the massive amounts. You buy these plastic shrouds, you glue onto the tank, and you know what I mean? Like, you do all this faux finish stuff on this bike, and then you're painting a canvas that's literally almost the size of a small car.
Yeah.
And you're doing artwork on it, and then you tell a dude $10,000, and he's like, oh, I don't even have that much in my bike, or I don't this and that. Yeah. And it's like, dude, like, what do you
expect?
Yeah, like, and you know, there are some amazing painters out there that were doing this stuff in the choppers, and I don't know how they were able to keep their sanity going from people willing to pay them that kind of money for that to the bagger scene. Which at first there was people spending money on baggers, and there still are people spending money on them, but the majority of the people that are still hanging on to that big wheel bagger thing are just not willing to put massive amounts of money into the paint jobs or in the parts or the quality of the build, you know. And you get a lot of shitty bikes on the street. lot
it's
of
just
devalued.
weird it's weird that difference over the past 10, 15 years, I guess you could say. I don't know. Like I say, I don't know what about the paint.
Maybe it's the TV stuff though. Maybe the fact that all these type of bikes are on TV, that it conditioned people to put a high value on them.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's what it is. The TV.
Fucking Matt Hodge was talking about $20,000 for a paint job on one of the build-off bikes.
I don't know about the quality of the paint in those versus like the quality like some guys like you and Valley Customs and Schultz are doing today. But like, man, I'll look at like the quality of like the builds, like not like from a style perspective. There's a different, some of that stuff just kind of dated. It's a different style, which is styles come and go, whatever. But like just the quality of the fab work, and like I'll look at some of my old magazines. I still got some from like the mid 2000s, right the middle of the TV craze, and you would look at like some of the bikes and some of like these huge names, and some of them are still around and stuff and doing stuff. But like I'll look at it and it's just like, it's just such a simple bike. Like the kind of like I said, the ones I was talking about earlier, like not saying I do better, but I'm talking about like you look at guys like Al Emerson or like, Christian Newman and some of these other dudes who are just building like this out of this world fabricated, like awesome stuff. Like some of those ones back then were, but there's a lot of really big names where it's like you look at it, it's like they've got like, a bot frame, some tins and stuff. And like there's, they made this and that, like nothing really that spectacular. And these were guys selling bikes for like 60, 80 grand and stuff. And I'm like, now you got guys like Al, I don't know what he charges, but probably like, he probably does like a full build for like 20 grand or something, And it's like, it just blows my mind. Like if that dude was only like 15 years older and was doing this shit back then, that dude would probably have like this giant house and had gotten all that, and now he's doing 10 times more work, cleaner, better work, and getting a fraction of it. I don't know if it's the same for the paint, but it's just something
those guys though.
Out.
Like I said, doing this podcast, I've got to meet some amazing dudes from back in the day, like Brian from TPJ. And when I looked at his bikes in person, and I see all these things that he made, like literally.
Oh yeah, like he's one of the guys like I said who does have. There were definitely guys out there who did have crazy.
I see his
skill.
bikes, and then I see that he'll sketch it, and then he bought a mill, and he learned how to mill, and he bought a lathe and learned how to lathe, and he's just making all these little parts. Like not even like just, hey, I need an engine mount bracket. Oh, it's all made out of billet. You know what I mean? And it's like we make fun of billet choppers back then, but then when I see a guy like that who took a block and made this piece, I'm like, I can't hate that. That shit is dope. No. But it's almost like when you see a guy that just went in a drag catalog and bought every billet piece that PM made or whatever, then you're like, man, I don't know. That doesn't do it for me. So it sucks for guys like Brian who are talented and innovative and stuck to his guns that,
But it seems like it worked out for him. And I mean, I've chatted with Al before and he says the same thing because I'm like, man, like I talked to him about how he doesn't get like the recognition he deserves. I mean, you got like all these bolt together choppers and they're like the best builders in the country or, winning awards and stuff. And I'm like, look at all the shit you're doing. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. He's like, it doesn't matter. He goes, I stay busy. He goes, I'm so busy, like he can't take on more work. So he's like, what does it matter? I mean, just like you. I mean, you're so busy with paint work. You can't take on any more work. So, I mean, shit's working out for you. Whether anything else matters or not, I mean, it's working.
Well, I think that, with this new day and age, with all the way that we're having to get work and the fact that we have to have a secondary business of running some type of social media, for some of us, like me, if my Instagram, which I probably shouldn't say this, but I survive off my Instagram. So if something happened to Instagram,
that's like saying you survive off of commercials. I mean,
I just don't want someone to hack me and fuck my Instagram because I'll be screwed.
But you got enemies like that?
No, I don't. But some people are just like you. Some people want to watch the world burn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're giving people ideas.
But it becomes a secondary thing where it's almost like you have the guy that's talented and doesn't really do the social media thing, and then you got the people that may not be as talented but really push the social media thing and draw a presence to it. So there's a fine line between the two. I don't know, man. Like
the social media thing's definitely a big thing. I mean, it's just part of business today. I mean, you got two guys who are just equally builder or painter or something, and one guy is good at social media and one guy isn't. The guy good at social media is definitely going to get way more recognition and be more famous and stuff because that's just, I mean, fuck. I mean, I'm sure it was even the same back in the TV show days. I mean, if you were good for TV, you're going to get bigger, whether you're better or not. I mean, if you got two guys who are both good chopper builders, if one guy's got, like, look at the, whatever they are, the OCC guys or whatever,
They were good for TV.
They were good for TV. I mean, they were better at that part than the building bikes part, but guess what? That's what made money. So, I mean, can you hate them for it? I mean, if they offered us a TV show and we had to yell at each other every day on the TV show, and they were going to give us TV money, which I don't know I don't know how much TV money is, but people always talk about TV money like it's fuck you money. I'd yell at you every day, Jace. I'd be like, God damn it, you fucking idiot. If they came to me and said that, I'd be all on board.
It depends, man. I've heard it might be TV money if you're Richard Rawlings and Aaron, or Paul Tuttle and them.
Once you get on TV, that's the potential. I mean, you might not get it at
Obviously,
first.
if you get on TV, and I think that you got to be careful now though, because getting on TV and letting someone else, like some kind of producing company, shape you into what they think you should be, I think you could do more damage to you and and who you are than anything. So you got to take. I feel like the TV opportunities is a grain of salt. I don't know if you're very familiar with John Shope and the Dirty Bird Customs, but they did a big push with Richard Rawlins to push into the another TV show for motorcycles, and Richard Rawlins is backing Shope, and they're a bagger company out of Phoenix, a big one, one of the OGs in the bagger stuff. And the dude's he was on that Phoenix Battlegrounds bike show that was out about 4 years ago. He's probably pretty good for TV as far as drama is concerned, and just being that wild child kind of guy, whatever. But if more bike shows get on TV, and you know what, Jason, actually, I talked to him today from the Garage Built podcast. Yeah. He said that what he thinks is going to happen, and I'm sorry, Jason, if I'm stealing your content right now. You guys got to check out Garage Built. It's Hell on Wheels Garage Built, something like that.
Shout out.
Great shout out, yeah. Cody Childers. But he said that Discovery's probably using what worked 15 years ago, and they're revisiting it because maybe they're out of new material. And that is a direct ripoff from Jason. I'm so sorry, dude, but I just used him for content today. But no, and
that's how good of stuff you're gonna get.
Yeah,
if you go check out.
Yeah, go check his
Hell
podcast.
on Wheels podcast.
But
great stuff like that. Not all this guessing stuff me and Jace do.
Yeah, he actually has facts. He does it right. But no, it makes you wonder, okay, once they release this, who in our industry, and we're obviously you got to go off social media. You got to think, okay, well, any smart company is going to look at social media and try to find, who's the most popular, the most, alive kind of feel of a shop or builder or whatever.
San Diego Customs, Power Plant, those guys.
I would think Power Plant. I mean, I don't know. I'm not biased against San Diego, but I just feel like there's not a lot of energy there.
I don't know those guys for anything, so I don't know. I've never been to California, so I don't know any of the California people except for Instagram, so I don't really know any of them. But I do want to clarify, because while we're talking, I was thinking, and I would actually not take that TV deal, like I was saying, yelling at you every day. Not because I don't want to yell at you, but it's weird enough for me as it is, having done the podcast a couple of times, that people come up and talk to me.
Yeah.
And I could not handle any more than the tiny, tiny bit of fame I have right now with my little 2,000 Instagram followers. It's already super weird. I don't know how famous people do it.
They stopping you at McDonald's yet?
No. Like I said, just at motorcycle shows, and it's just already I don't know. It's super weird to me because I don't know. I'm not a famous guy.
Well, I'm not. I don't know. If
I'm famous, you're really famous.
No. So it's strange, man. Ever since we started doing this podcast stuff, it's actually obviously we've got people kind of feel like they know me and stuff now, which is totally cool. But you're never prepared for the, hey man, I follow you on Instagram, or I love what you. Or
they ask you hey man, how's that bike coming along? It's I don't know you. I don't mind. I guess I'm just not experienced enough in this to know how to answer that question to somebody I don't know. And it's weird.
It is weird, but we're in this new world, man. We're all getting our 15 seconds of fame all the time, and think about it, in our parents generation or lifetime, did they ever have the ability to have a voice to 2,000 people?
No.
Whether the only way they would work is depending on their work stature or whether or not they're a pastor at a big church or some shit. So it's we all have this ability to reach a lot of people, based on the way we present ourselves and the content we put out there. And it gets strange, man. It also makes you have to really check yourself. And I've talked about it a lot about, having friends like you and Mark and everybody else that kind of helped me, keep my shit together. You know what I mean? Because I have such high regards for you and him and some other friends that I feel like if I went total douche or something, or total arrogance, that I would notice the lack of you guys wanting to hang around me anymore, and then I would be sad. So,
oh damn.
But anyway, no, it's I think the biggest thing, we were talking about this on the Adam Sandoval podcast, is that we all have the ability now in some form or fashion to create our own content, our own videos, our own everything, and do it the way we see fit, and perceive and show the world how we want to be perceived, even if it's fake. But at least we're not, Von Metal, fuck you, we're lawlessness and whatever else he said on his promo video. That might be who that guy is. I don't know, but
I do know people like that. So
yeah, and I mean that's going to appeal to a certain crowd. But the good thing is now is like with people being able to find the people they want to associate or support, whether it's through the Instagram or the vloggers or moto vloggers that are out there. It's like you get to pick. You don't get one option through Discovery Channel.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not in like your shoes. Where in the sense, well, I mean, like you have your business, and like your social media is your business. Like you say, you got to check yourself and stuff, and make sure you're presenting who you want to present. Where I guess it's good for anyone to do, but like I don't know, I feel like it's easier in my situation. Like I don't sell stuff online. Like I'm not a business. I'm not anything. Like I'll finish a bike and sometimes I'll sell a bike, but it's not like I don't have to tailor my social media any certain way. Sometimes, I piss people off, but that shit, I guess, just happens, and because people are always gonna get pissed off on the internet. But I don't have to like go back and worry about like, oh fuck, am I screwing over my livelihood by this? It's like it's not affecting my money, my bills in any possible way. Like, 'cause I said something stupid online. It's like, oh, well, I was stupid last night. I mean, and that's it. I'll just wait for that to blow over. And I feel like it's got to be much more difficult for someone in your situation where you really, you make that mistake. You say you get drunk and say something stupid. You got to wonder like, oh man, is that gonna like affect future sales? It's got to make it. That's I guess the downside to. I mean, it's scary, but
like I think for me, it's like with this camp out thing that we got planned. It's like.
I'm excited.
To me, I'm looking at the 25,000 people that are following us, which I don't know why the hell. It's just weird how you got. We were just talking about earlier. You got 25,000 followers and only so many likes. So I didn't pay for them. I swear to God.
Some weak shit, man. That's why. But like another paint job. What the fuck?
Yeah.
This guy bringing something else.
I looked at it like, man, like. We talk a lot about traveling on bikes on this podcast. We talk a lot about camping and the fun that we have doing it all. And the more and more that I'm looking at, it's like we don't have as many options to do that stuff. Or which there's nothing wrong with it, but there might be a big show or a big price tag or a big trip to plan.
I'm super excited about what you got going on,
dude. I mean, I'm actively trying to think of every cool thing that we can put in the show without turning it in, or the camp out without turning it into something complicated. But
it'll just naturally turn into it, man. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm super carefree. I don't plan anything, so I guess I'm probably not the best person to take advice from because that's gonna be my advice. But I don't know, man. Because like at first you said it, and I was like, you had said the other one before, a little while back. You're talking about doing just kind of like a little local camp out. Remember a few months ago?
Yeah.
I think I was shortly after Giddy Up, and I know I was super busy, so I was like, I wasn't be able to make that anyway. And now I got more time. You mentioned it again. I didn't even really think much about it, and then like. I went to Raton, and that was just kind of wishy-washy. It was just kind of wasn't exactly my scene. I feel like it's just not my people. I mean, most of these kind of things, it's all about who you're with, and the people you're with. That's what makes it fun. And then you posted the one this weekend. You were just up there, and I was like, man, that looks like a lot of fun. Like I was like wishing I was there, and then I was like, I was just looking it up, and I was asking Carlos, I'm like, hey man, you gonna go? He's like, what's the date? I was looking up the date and everything. I'm like, man, this looks like this is gonna be a lot of fun. Like it got me thinking because leaving Raton, I was like, man, I wish we could just go back to just kickers, like we all always say. Like, that was just such a great time. And more I saw about yours,
just
like,
kickers,
that was just
because we were talking about it this weekend, or some of the guys were bringing it up, and I remember you told me about it, and this was before I was into this scene. So
it was just like that, just a camp out. I mean, Kirk Sharp put it on, and it was. I don't know, maybe $20-$25 to get in. That covered the weekend. Yeah. And so like your standard camping fees, like $10 a night or something for the campground. And you just rolled in, and it was small. Like, I mean, if I tried to guess the amount of people, maybe 200 people. I mean, I'm horrible at
Damn,
guessing.
that's still good though.
That could be bigger. That could
That's
be
pretty
way
big.
bigger. It could be 100.
Yeah.
It felt like a small environment, you know.
Yeah.
I know it was bigger in the FXR Jam, which is 50 people-ish usually. So maybe it was closer to like 100, 150. But it was just show up, camp, hang out. I mean, you and your friends might go for a ride. You come back. Everyone's just drinking, partying, smoking, doing whatever they do. There's not much going on. I think one year they had a band. They might have a band 2 years, you know, because there was like a stage there, and I think they had a band or two. They had kickstart competitions because it was mostly older bikes, but there's no shows. You know, they did a little kickstart competition. I don't even remember if they gave away. I think they gave away like a T-shirt. You know, I mean nothing. Like he sold T-shirts that said just kickers. You know, so it had a little T-shirt you could buy. Nothing fancy. And But that's it. Like I said, like the smaller kind of atmosphere without a show and everything. It kind of forces you to mingle some. It's like the FXR Jam, like how I say, like, you know, you kind of, it doesn't click up as much as like when you go to like a big thing like Giddy Up, like we're all going to sit at the top of the hill and we all hang out here, you know, we all hang out with all our friends. When it's like a smaller, more intimate thing, like you're more kind of just going out to meet people. Like you might come with one friend or two friends, or maybe just by yourself, and you could go by yourself and just roll up to anybody's group and just hang out because it's just kind of like that environment. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we want to do. You know, I guess I kind of got a little, I don't know, anxious or kind of like a little bit of a responsibility kicked in because some of the people that reached out said they were making the effort to come, and like these dudes are in Michigan, and I'm like, fuck, dude, that's a long ride. I think
the best thing is just knowing good roads around to where if they're like
the Talamina Highway.
I know, that's, I mean, that's it. Just like that way, I feel like that's all I'd expected from Kirk back then. It's like if I just like, hey man, like, where's a good place we go ride today? You know, if he just be like, oh man, you just head over there, you know, just follow that road around and you have a good time. Like just somebody, good burger joint out that way, go check it out. You know, like I feel like that's all most people need for these things. If that's the kind of vibe you're trying to put on and not like a show kind of thing, it's just like, come hang out, come from wherever, you're welcome. You come right into my campfire and party with us. Like you don't have to know any of us. Just come on in.
See what I was
have
thinking.
A good time.
You know, it's hard to explain the campsite's really legit, dude. Like straight
it looked
up,
like it. It
is super.
like a
like
nice spot.
He just picked up the campsite 2 months ago. He's been doing a lot of shit to it. Put it like this: a year from now, it's gonna be one of the dopest spots. Period. Right. Yeah. And I guess maybe that's why I want to get in now because I want to bring our mentality in, which you know could be like. I think it is, just like you said, keeping it simple, keeping it this. I just want to make sure that if people listen to this podcast or see it on Instagram or whatever and they decide to come, that I want them to be – I'm a host now. I want them to enjoy themselves. Yeah. I want them to get the same experience that I get when I camp with everybody. It was only 10 of us this weekend, and
those are the best,
we're fucking wild, dude. Like my buddy James, like it was so humid out there. In the middle of the day, he took his shirt off. Next thing you know, we all got our shirts off, and we're not sexy. And we're just walking around, drinking beer, just being dudes out in the open with, you know what I mean?
Remember the first Texas Hills show when we had to go to the second campground, the day of the show, and it was like me, you, Brad, Jade, Derek, your little brother. Like there was maybe like 8 or 10 of us, man, and that was a great night.
We had a good time.
I mean, that was just... Like I said, there was probably 10 people at max over there.
That's what I tell everybody.
Really good time.
I tell everybody, like, look, I'm going to have a blast if it's 5 of us, if it's 2 of us, or if it's 200 of us. But what I hope that happens, if in a perfect situation, is that a lot of people come out and we find a way to consolidate a lot of the campers close to each other because it's a big property.
I think a big thing is just trying to keep it away from being elitist to where some dude rolls up on a stock diner or Sportster or whatever, you know? I mean, fuck. Austin Todd was there with us that day on the Sportster. And like that they feel welcome to come in. Like just because you got you and 5 of your friends on like these, you know, flaked out show bikes and stuff, like they don't feel like, oh, I can't go hang out with those guys. I think that's a big thing. Like that's how like Kirk's was. Like, you know, him and his buddies are on knuckleheads and stuff. You roll up there on a Sportster, you know, an Evo Sportster, and hey, how's it going, man? You know, he's all just welcoming. Like it doesn't matter to me. I feel like that's the key, is just making it a welcoming environment, you know, not however you do that. I feel like I think you just put off that energy. I don't think it's necessarily anything you specifically do. It's just putting off that energy like, hey, we're here to have a good time. I hope you join us and have a good time with us.
Yeah. And that's, I think we're going to push that. I mean, I'm trying to get like some of the Litas chapters from around here in Oklahoma, because where it's at in Oklahoma, it's like, it's not OKC, you know, Tulsa, Missouri, Kansas, like all these places are relatively not a bad drive to get there.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good location, and hopefully a lot of the Austin and Houston guys will come up too.
Yeah, it's
and,
not far from us. So
it's a
not
day's
too much
ride
further
for those guys too. I mean, it is a longer ride, but
it's a doable day ride.
I think the coolest thing is it's different, man. Like I'm not saying that I don't really enjoy Texas Hills, one of my favorite shows. Giddy Up, obviously.
I love going to New Braunfels.
I do.
I go there 3 times a year as it is.
I love it, but I literally I enjoyed this last weekend. That area is dope. It's very, very country out there. It's very. I think Giselle said it best. You got to walk around with Okie goggles on or something like that. It's super. Adams also said it on the podcast we did. Like, I didn't see one cop the entire time I was there.
Yeah.
Anywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just an open, like a little bit Wild West out there. Just party, have a good time, Well,
depending on how many people you got coming, I don't know if you talk to the police department out there.
No,
but if you got a bigger, I know that's what JP does for Run to Raton. He
Well,
works it all out with them.
There's nobody around.
Yeah.
It's
I know, just to make.
And it's 10. There's a gas station really, really close, which is a good thing. And they have lots of beer and like random shit you need, even like fishing supplies and stuff because there's a river.
Yeah.
But the closest town, which is Antler, that's 10 miles away.
Oh, so it's really out there.
Yeah, like it's that gas station, the campsite, and then it's like 20 something miles like headed towards the Talamina Highway that you'll probably hit something, and then 10 miles back. So you're out there. It ain't like New Braunfels where you can say, hey, let's go ride to town and grab some lunch.
5 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can hit the Buc-ee's and take a big shit or some shit. Like, you got to go a ways to do that stuff. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited because, Adam is, like, accommodating whatever you guys want. Like, however you want to set this up. Like, to me, that's awesome. So it's giving me the freedom to kind of set this up however we see fit,
Well, you actually picked a good time of year, too.
I just picked
fucking
a
camp
time
outs
of
in the middle
year.
of the summer, man. I'm not trying. Camping in 100 degrees blows.
I was just trying to find a time that was in between
That should be perfect.
all the
though.
shit.
Should be like in the
that's
80s
going
or
on.
something. And
Well, like Southern Throwdown is usually around that same time, but they moved it to the end of the month.
yeah.
And then I'm probably not going on the hot bike tour, but there is that I wasn't going to the hot bike tour last year until 2 days before it. So it's kind of one of those things that's up in the air with me. But, it's also, I got to drive back to California in a week and drop some shit off. And I'm just trying to get done with like work. And
I just keep this first year, man. Just keep it super simple and just
yeah,
let it grow organically from there. You see what happens and see what, you just see how that goes. And I'm sure it'll go good. And then you can just figure out what you can do to improve on it after that, But I mean, for a first year thing, that's what I think is just throw a little thing, see what, just see what happens, how many people show up and everything, get an idea. And like you said, it's going to be a good time, whether it's 5 of us or 200 of us. We're going to have fun.
I'm not trying to make any money on this thing. Like, it's literally just going to cost whatever the camping fees are to get in.
I definitely look into getting some shirts, man. I have people love buying shirts.
I wouldn't mind doing it either. I just.
You do it like Just Kickers did. He didn't even put the year on it, so you could reuse it the next year.
I just hate
said, that little sticker that's on my shovel head. The little Just Kicker, that was the shirt.
I would hate to like spend $1,500 on shirts and like 30 people show up, or spend $500 on shirts and 300 people show up. You know what I mean?
I just go less than more, unless like you said, I said you didn't put a year on it and you could reuse it the following year.
I just do stickers and maybe a little poster or something. I'll sign it.
Oh my god.
No, I'm excited, man. I hope it's great. And, like I said, how do you, just trying to find a way to take what following we do have and try to bring everybody together and give them a reason to do some cool shit, man. Like I said, it's.
And that's shit we can actually have an effect over. Like I said, the whole first half of this podcast talking about Harley this and what they can do.
Yeah.
That's just talking. But like that bringing the whole community together and stuff, that's things that we actually can play a part in and do. And that's what I feel like if that goes off the way I'm thinking, that's exactly what it should do. Like I said, even if it's not as many people as you're hoping, the first year, I don't think you have any expectations for a first year on something like that.
I'm not like in my head. The only thing that I guess I would worry about is that everybody has a good time.
Yeah.
Whether it's 30 people or 300 people, as long as everybody says that fucking rock, blah blah blah, that was fun.
I think that's gonna be a given already.
Yeah.
Camping around good roads.
Yeah.
I mean, in the middle of nowhere too. We don't got to worry about a bunch of bullshit. I feel like, how can that really go wrong?
Yeah. I don't see
unless like some crazy fights break out or some shit like that. I mean, I just check people for meth at the door, and I think we're good, man.
Yeah, there's definitely that out there for sure. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited for it. And
When's that again?
September 7th through the 9th. So it's Friday.
Central Oklahoma, kind of.
It's southeast. Yeah. So it's you're about 50 miles from the Talamina Highway, and that's a 50-mile ride. And pretty much you're right at the, it's in a valley. And as soon as you're like, if you're coming from Texas there, then you're like dipping down into the valley, like you see some nice scenery. And then it really is nice riding to only be, 2.5 hours from Dallas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like I said, even from Oklahoma City, Arkansas, Tulsa, in Missouri, like all these areas are not far away to where it's not a bad, it's a day ride. You know what I mean?
From a lot of places.
Yeah. So, and I think that's what I more enjoy. I probably already just said this, but it opens the door up to people from, more of the Midwest to come down, because it's not coming all the way down into Texas, deep into it, and, like from here to Chicago is like 1,000 miles, but if you knock out 160 miles from there to Chicago, you know what I mean? It kind of makes it a little bit more possible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited. I hope
it's going to be fun. Mark's going too, right?
Fuck yeah, Mark's going.
Figured so.
I was texting him today. He said something about a wet t-shirt contest. I have to run that by my wife, but we'll see how that goes.
Damn.
They got a stage so we can like do stuff. We can do a breakdance competition then.
Who's breakdancing?
You didn't do that when you were a kid?
No.
No, you said you liked Jordans when you were a kid, so I figured you were into like hip hop.
Yeah, but not breakdancing.
Oh, I can't dance at all, so maybe we get Jesse up there. He can rap.
Oh god, I listened to one of his songs recently.
He has a couple that I like.
Something. I was like, I see what this is about. I'll leave it at that. But
anything else? What's going on with you, man? How's everything after getting back on your feet up here?
Oh yeah, getting back up on our feet. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about that shit. I had people ask me. I actually had some people say, "Well, I guess I'll just hear about it on the podcast whenever you're back on." So it feels like old news at this point. But no, at the FXR Jam, for anyone who didn't know or doesn't know me, me and my wife, she was on the back of the bike. We went down pretty bad. Turned out not to be as bad as it appeared to be. But no, we went down in a turn. Everyone asked what happened. Fuck if I know. I don't know. I was following this dude Amos, who apparently you shouldn't try and follow through some turns because this dude is a madman. And
he's one out of New Mexico, right?
Yeah. Everyone. I was just in New Mexico.
RT?
No. That was Clint on the 83.
Okay,
you don't want to follow Clint either.
I heard he was a badass on those cars.
Yeah, he is. He was keeping up with Mark on his new Softail with his 83 Shovel RT with like no upgrades whatsoever.
Nice.
So, but this guy Amos, he's ridiculous, and I didn't know this. I mean, I knew most everybody there, but I didn't know him. I was following Joe through some turns. We were definitely going way too fast. I mean, way too fast through these turns, and following Joe go through a turn and talking to him later, he said he even thought we went a little sketchy that turn. He checked, make sure I was behind him. I was still behind him. He then in between that turn and the next turn, Amos just blows by me. I'm like, who the fuck is this? Some old dude just blew by me in a turn. I'm like, I'm thinking we're getting it. And this old dude who I don't even know, I'm like, I know all the good riders here. I'm like, who is this motherfucker? And he just blows by me. So he comes into this next turn so hot, and I just follow him right into it, follow his line, going his speed. And I'm not as good a rider as him by any means. Mm-hmm. And about halfway through the turn is when I realized that, and it just wasn't happening. And I was just dragging so hard and just threw it down harder, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah,
Bike flipped over.
It ended up sliding on the crash bar and everything, right?
Yeah,
we picked it up off the ground.
Yeah, the crash bar. I guess they said the highway pegs collapsed, and that's when it was dragging the highway pegs, and the highway pegs collapsed. Is what everyone says it looked like. I don't remember a whole lot of it. They said it looks like when it collapsed, I guess it dug in when it went back, when I threw it over harder, mm-hmm. and then it dug in, and I guess that flipped it over the other side, and it high-sided, flipped up. They said it was like in the air and stuff, and like flipping through the air. It landed to where it wasn't really a whole lot of damage outside the crash bar on the bike. Yeah. I mean, the exhaust got crushed and a couple other little things, the fairing, not too bad. But, and then I got up. I thought I was fine. I didn't feel a thing. Turns out I wasn't fine, but it didn't feel it at the moment. Yeah. Went around over my wife, Glenda. She was unconscious and shit, and that was all scary. Her leg was like hanging out it was just all just a giant,
Yeah.
not very pretty. So that was all scary, but it's cool, man. We're with like a big group of guys, like 15, 20 guys, like some of the best dudes.
I heard Mark and Chris, Harry was just like on it.
Mark was in front of us.
Oh, okay.
So Mark, Clint, and like Joe and Amos, they were the ones ahead of me. And they had made it to the watering hole where we were going. And then by the time they got there, like, okay, it was a while. And they were like, okay, where is everybody else? And that's when Clint came back and found us. But no, Chris was right there on the scene. You know, Chris, Mighty Whitey. He was right there. He was just helping out a ton. Because like I said, I didn't realize I was hurt, but my arm was all torn up. My hand was. But I was just kind of in the moment. But it was hot out. And I'm trying to, I'm kind of half freaking out because my wife is sitting here we're trying to wake her up and everything. Her leg is just covered in blood. You can see her bone and it's just freaky. And I'm trying to like stay calm so she stays calm. But Chris was just right there holding her the whole time and stuff and keeping her calm. And it was a pretty intense situation. I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere, had to get service.
Yeah.
Somebody finally did. It was, I don't know, it felt like forever, but I think it was like 30, 45 minutes maybe before an ambulance could get there. And he stayed there the whole time. Him and Jeremy and Spook and Gary Stevens, all those guys were just, everything. Like finding all the water around, bringing us water, collecting all our stuff. The saddlebag exploded, threw stuff everywhere. So, man, so much thanks to all those guys. They made the whole situation much easier. Mm-hmm. All the FXR guys, like I said, it was at the FXR Jam. She had to get life flighted out, so I had to find a way to get to the hospital. I caught rides and stuff, got out there. They took care of the bike. They paid to get it towed back to the hotel. Red Good took it back to his place in Oklahoma and stored it there for a few weeks before I could get it. It was just, man, like the way the community came together and helped us all out, just amazing.
Yeah.
And turns out, I guess if people wondering, she had a concussion. Her brain was bleeding, or bleeding in her brain, whatever they call that. And so she doesn't remember the whole day. So she had to be monitored for that. They had to do surgery on her knee. She broke her kneecap and all that. But her brain's fine now. That didn't get worse. So they let us go the next day. She just recently, like a week ago, got her stitches out and everything. She's starting to do physical therapy, bending her knee again. But she's tougher than anyone I know. So she was walking again. Like the day we left the hospital, she's walking around in her splint and stuff. And she hasn't calmed down since. She does everything around the house still. She doesn't slow down.
She won't take it.
Yeah, so she'll be good. Everything's good. I mean, my arm was just a lot of bad rash. I'm fine. And so people who've been wondering, who've been asking me, I've told the story 1,000 times.
You've been back to work now, though, right? So
yeah, I've been back to work for like I'm on my second week now. So
that's good.
I guess it's good to be back. But you take a month off of work and going back to work just kind of sucks. It's like, damn. This is the life right here.
Yeah,
waking up at 9 o'clock every day, and
yeah, it is better, right?
But yeah, I couldn't use my hand for that whole month or most of that month, so got super caught up on TV. Watched way too much Netflix and HBO, but no, it's good to be back to normal life. It kind of sucks going to work, but it's nice being able to do things. So yeah, that's the story with that. Like I said, thanks to all those guys, anyone who listens to this who was there, pretty much the whole community, every one of those guys, they all pitched in. I would never ask for like a collection, nothing. Those guys all pitched in, brought us some money. Mark ran it down to us, brought us a change of clothes and stuff at the hospital a couple hours away. I mean, I felt bad for my wife. I felt bad. People, I know Jesse saying like put like a damper on the whole mood at the place. Mm-hmm. I ruined that whole day for everyone. I know that's not what anyone's concerned about, but it kind of sucks. It's like Clint was saying when it first happened, when he told the guys ahead, like, the one person who can't go down went down because I was the only one with my wife and stuff, and it's a shitty situation. If it's just me or somebody else, if I was by myself, I get rashed up. I'd be sitting there laughing about it that night, and it's whatever, man. I'm a fucking idiot, but it's a lot harder when you got your wife on the back. Also, I guess a public service announcement, be a little more careful when you got your wife on the back. You get to thinking nothing's gonna happen. We've got tens of thousands of miles with her riding 2 up, never an issue. But and I'm not the best rider, but I mean, as many people as I think I ride better than, I know just as many ride better than me. So I mean, I'd say I'm middle of the pack guy, maybe a little above average, I don't know. But yeah, just be careful. Wear helmets. Like I said, the bike, she took the full force of the bike to her head, it looked like. I mean, she gashed up her head with a Simpson helmet on. So, I mean, just wear your helmets. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have made it without one. My helmet was all completely destroyed too. So, I don't know. I like to always promote people wearing helmets. It's just a good idea.
Yeah.
I like to see people living. So, that's that story.
Yeah, the whole crazy thing about that weekend is like, I was super excited to get there too myself,
That was the same weekend you got your bike stolen.
Yeah, so it was like, it was just weird, man. Like it was weird because I said this to Jesse. I was like, it's like the two worst things that could happen to somebody on a motorcycle happen. So my friend's bike gets stolen while it's in my possession. And, you go down with your wife on. Those are like the two worst feelings on two different spectrums of like what could happen on a bike trip or on a bike in general.
Without a doubt, those are the two things. It
just sucked, man. Like it, and then it's like as soon as it happened, man, it's like, I was already home. I had caught a flight home that morning. And, it's like when it happened, I was like, fuck, like what? Like I'm looking around the house like, what do I got to do? You know what I mean? Because it felt weird. Once again, for me, like felt helpless. You know what I mean?
Like I said, I mean, it's amazing what the community can do, though. Because like I said, all those guys between taking care of my bike, I didn't have to worry about it. They're like, we got it. We'll take care of it. They spent their day dealing with that. They took up a collection, like I said, which I didn't feel like we needed, but it definitely came in handy without me working. Being, we couldn't do much as far as cooking, so being able to grab some Taco Bell and not having to worry about that. Just a little extra cash definitely came in handy those couple weeks. As soon as we get to the hospital, everyone's all concerned. That was Sunday morning, or Saturday. Jace was calling to asking, he's saying he'd come up and pick us up from the hospital. I had Dan call too, Danger Dan. He's saying he'll come up, and then I told both of them not to, and then Dan just left on Sunday morning. He's like, I'm coming up anyway. I was like, I don't know when we'll get released. He was just like, well, fuck it. He's like, I'll just wait until you guys get released.
Dan called me to ask me about the bike. He called me up and goes, hey, man, I heard about the bike. But he sounded so happy on the phone. You know how Dan talks?
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man, I heard we're having the bike. I'm like, it's not a good thing, dude. This is what it kind of came out as. But, immediately I said, hey, man, did you hear about Mike? He went down up there, and then he's like, no fucking way. So he hung up and called you and whatnot. And it was just, like I said, I don't know, man. It was just such a weird weekend. So many weird emotions and feelings going on. Like, fuck, man, like what's going on? How do you deal with it? So I just went to sleep. I went to the shop and painted the Dyna, the one I've been riding now.
Oh, really?
So I just like, you know what? I wasn't planning on being home this time. I'm just going to go to the shop and just get my head and work on a paint job, just get my mind off everything. Nothing I could do about the bike. I think the worst part of the whole bike deal after it got stolen was like the insurance company calling us and the detective calling us and not necessarily talking to us in a manner of like, hey, we're sorry that happened, but more questioning us like we did something wrong. Like they
were thinking you purposely got it stolen.
Yeah, and I get it. I know that tons and tons of people do that, but to me, it's like, that's kind of fucked up, man. Like it's kind of it's like now I'm innocent and now I'm having to prove my innocence to somebody that's supposed to, that obviously it wasn't my insurance, but obviously insurance is in place to cover this type of situation.
Yeah.
But now I got to prove my innocence too, And so it was just kind of
it sucks that that's the first thing they go to,
and then the dude listened to our podcast. Obviously nowadays with social media, they can just jump online and say, okay, this is the guy that was on the bike.
I was not going that fast.
And this is the guy that's on the bike. I can listen to the podcast. And the insurance guy called me and asked me questions. He was cool with me, but my buddy Jetty, the one that loaned me the bike, was telling me like, dude, I was getting ready to cuss these guys out because they were saying like, wow, that's super convenient. This guy rides a bike to Indianapolis to get stolen. Dude, I'm thinking to myself, like, I've been in the 9th ward of New Orleans and my bike didn't get stolen, but I go to fucking Indianapolis, and it gets stolen in front of a suburb like that. I never would have thought that would happen. Of all
it wasn't convenient for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, fortunately, Scott Hampton, the guy that one of the owners of Horsepower Inc., one of the the guy that supports our podcast and all the stuff, like him and his wife were awesome. They just immediately got me a flight, which I honestly didn't want to accept it, but at the same time, I was like, it was an expensive flight. I was like, fuck, man, I don't know if I'm going to have to pay for this bike or not.
Yeah.
I was prepared to because I just sold the road.
It's crazy with this community, though. Like, just when shit gets bad, it seems like people always just come together so strong. And I mean, I don't know what other communities are like. This all I do is motorcycles, so I don't know what it's like, but it's crazy that, I mean, just the amount of support people do. Like, as soon as you get down, it's like everyone's just trying to help out and do what they can. Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like that's a special thing this community has that I don't know if most communities do or not, but.
Well, it's like like our little group we've been calling ourselves the Anvil 8, the guys that go up to Anvil on Tuesday nights and stuff, and it's like those are all the dudes that went to the campsite with us this weekend.
I didn't know you're starting a club too.
Yeah, dude, we're getting patches and everything. It's gonna be the Anvil 8, the OG. Now these dudes are cool, man. Like, and we've all kind of known each other, but because we started doing this bike night, and then we all look forward to going out on Tuesdays to see each other and just shoot the shit.
I almost thought about going this Tuesday.
Yeah, it's so fun, and the only thing that sucks about it is that we get so many people there that are like, sometimes one guy comes one week and he'll come a couple weeks later, or sometimes there's a group of us that are there every week, but it's like the only problem is that we don't have a big enough table for everybody to be a part of the conversation all the time, because that's really what it becomes, man. Like we get there at 8, and sometimes we're sitting there at 12:30 still talking, like as if the conversation never changed. You know what I mean? It's super fun. But the best part was like going up to fucking, on this camping trip and just hanging out with everybody, and we're all talking shit to each other. It ain't like, it ain't like these dudes ain't talking shit to me and making fun of me. You saw them, like I was trying to sleep in a hammock, and they tried to do a burnout on a Sportster. Yes, it was wild. But that's the thing, is like, like we're all equal. We're all having fun. It's not like some, chain of command where we're like, I'm the one that's important, blah blah blah. We're all joking and cracking on each other, and it's just fun, man. And that's kind of what has spawned this whole camp out thing, is just wanting to get a lot of people together like that and build our wolf pack.
Oh jeez.
Another hangover reference. there was 11, and now there's 12 because we grew by one. Or have you seen that yet? You're not a movie guy, are you?
What?
Hangover?
Yeah, I've seen The Hangover.
Okay, making
Who
sure.
hasn't seen The Hangover?
You're weird, man. You don't like 90s grunge, so.
No.
Not that translates, but,
It's not weird to not like 90s grunge.
Come on, man. Anyway, so anything else? Are we good? New bikes suck or rock? What do you think?
I'm giving them a chance. I know that, like I said, I'm not going to go buy one, but I'm giving them a chance. I'm not hating on them. I'm excited to see
what they do.
What they do.
Well, me too, man. I guess we're 2.5 hours into this, so
maybe tomorrow they're gonna drop all the specs and stuff, and this whole podcast will be a bunch of bullshit.
It'll be all irrelevant, yeah, for sure. All right, well, thanks for doing this, Mike.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, buddy. How'd you guys like that? Man, it's always a good time talking to Mike, man. We can literally just go all night, and actually we did. That sounded kind of gay. Sorry about that, buddy, but no. We left it when we got off the podcast. We went and sat outside and just talked for another hour. It's always fun talking to a guy that I have so much respect for. So anyway, I'm glad you guys dug it. Really didn't know a whole lot about these bikes, but we figured, fuck it, man. It would make great conversation. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, check out FXR Mike on Instagram. Give him a follow. I don't know why he's not blown up. He's one of the coolest dudes in the world. Also, don't forget about our sponsors, man. Texas Performance MC on Instagram and online. Put you a little .com on the end of that if you want to go check them out down in Cedar Park, Texas. Got everything you need in stock or on the way within a day. So holler at your boy down there. Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG. Also, painthuffer.com. As I said before, that's where you get the good shit to make these paint jobs look nice. So check those guys out. HorsepowerInc.net. That's where you go to get big power on your fuel-injected bikes. Right? Of course. Horsepower Inc. on Instagram. Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook. Dyno tuning, big bore throttle bodies, air cleaners. I know they got exhaust systems on the way. They're doing big things over there. Give those guys a follow or a check out on all their social media stuff, and just support these guys that support our podcast. Also, don't forget about Hard Drive, American V-Twin products, hdtwin.com. Tell your dealers, tell your homies, tell everybody to get set up with Hard Drive parts. get set up with these guys, support them. They got rad shit. I'm trying to basically do this T-Sport. I'm lost right now. This Sport Glide. I'm really thinking about doing the Sport Glide with as many 8 hard drive parts as we can kind of put on this bike, and just kind of show people what you can build out of this catalog. You know what I mean? And yeah, I said build and catalog in the same sentence, so hate me all you want. Anyway, check them out anyway, hdtwin.com. Get set up as a dealer. Tell your local bike shop that they need to be set up. Hard drive parts on Instagram. Check out all the cool products and the cool shit that they got their hands in. I also want to thank you guys for checking out our podcast, man. I don't know how I feel about this. I've been against it, but I did pick up some stuff to be able to do some phone interviews, and I don't want to do a lot of those. I want to do it as minimal as possible. I really enjoy sitting with someone face to face and having a conversation. I think it's way more intimate, I guess is the right word. I don't know. I enjoy it more. It feels like a real conversation, and but sometimes we have these droughts, where we can't get anybody on. It's just, you can't fit it in a time schedule. So it's almost like you gotta do these phone things. So we're going to really work on it to make sure the quality is as top notch as possible. And like I said, we're going to really do it as a minimum. I'm not trying to open up the airways for everybody across the United States to have phone podcasts. I want it to be a minimalist thing that we do on here, but for the sake of being able to continue to give you content, we will open our minds to a few of them here and there. So anyway, keep following us, keep supporting us, whatever you can do to help. I already told you what to do at the beginning of the podcast, or asked you what you could do for me. And like I said, I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great week and a great weekend, and rock on, dudes.